Chapter 881. Xiao Chen, what are you thinking about? Is it that difficult to solve my cultivation problem? Could it be that something has happened? Qing Menjing looked at Xiao Chen frowning and thinking hard. She couldn't help but ask. She felt a little uneasy. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with my cultivation method? Sigh. Well, it's actually like this. Xiao Chen pondered for a while. Before Qing Menjing was about to explode, he finally sighed and tried his best to explain the difference between a cultivator and a martial cultivator. You mean? I'm a cultivator? Not a demonic cultivator or a martial cultivator? Qing Menjing was confused. Although she couldn't fully understand what Xiao Chen had just said, she still grasped the main point of the problem. That's right. You're a brilliant cultivator. Xiao Chen nodded heavily. How did you know? I've never heard anyone mention a cultivator. You didn't make it up to fool me, did you? Qing Menjing asked suspiciously. However, she felt that what Xiao Chen had said before seemed to be very logical. It didn't seem like he was lying to her. Because I'm also a cultivator. I say, you're really daring. Where could I have come up with those lies? I must have had a basis to say that. Do you think I'm a novelist? Xiao Chen shook his head helplessly. How could such a meticulous cultivation logic be made up? What? You too? Qing Menjing was stunned and looked at Xiao Chen in disbelief. However, she suddenly recalled that Xiao Chen seemed to have been constantly drinking medicine and training since he was kicked out of the Xiao family and moved into her villa. Later, he would encounter all kinds of dangerous situations from time to time. He was not willing to help her, but it seemed that he could escape successfully every time. Recalling this, Qing Menjing finally believed his words a little. Yeah. Otherwise, how could a good-for-nothing young master like me be able to kill so many people in such a short time? I can even trample on those troublemakers until they piss their pants in terror, Xiao Chen said with a chuckle. If he hadn't been saved by the elder heaven ancestor by chance, perhaps he would have been killed by Chao Yuliang and the others. Does that mean that I can have those magical abilities just like you? Happiness came too suddenly. Qing Menjing couldn't accept it for a while and asked doubtfully. Well, I can teach you some special abilities of cultivators. Since you are a cultivator, you should be able to learn them very quickly, Xiao Chen said with a smile. Next, Xiao Chen told Qing Menjing how to transform, how to use the simple fireball technique and so on. However, when these skills were used by the young miss, they basically didn't have any lethality. After all, her strength was still too low. At most, she could only light a fire and wash her hands. At the beginning, Qing Menjing was worried that the fireball technique would burn her hands. Due to her nervousness, she couldn't successfully activate it several times. However, after Xiao Chen personally demonstrated it to her, her psychological barrier gradually decreased. Slowly, she was able to successfully activate the fireball technique. However, the weak flame was probably only enough to light a cigarette. As for the transformation, the young miss had no problem. After a few tries, she succeeded. However, with her strength, she couldn't maintain her appearance for a long time. Otherwise, the energy in her body would be exhausted very quickly. After learning the new ability, Qing Menjing couldn't help but be surprised and happy. This time, she really believed that she was a cultivator. There were probably only a few in the entire Great Xia Kingdom who had such a rare and powerful existence. However, after being happy, Qing Menjing began to worry again. Her identity might be incredible, but it would be a waste if she couldn't increase her strength. In the past, when she was in the Kuei Mountain sect, not only was the heaven and earth energy abundant, but there were also plenty of treasures. There was no need to worry about the progress of cultivation. Now in Songming City, even living was a problem. She had to live in fear every day, let alone buying those expensive herbs for cultivation. Xiao Chen was also very distressed. Even though he knew that the young miss was a cultivator, he didn't have the money to buy the herbs for her cultivation. Back then, he had to spend 1 or 2 million just to buy a set of herbs, and that was after the discount. The tens of thousands of yuan that he scammed was not even comparable to a drizzle. It wasn't enough to do anything. Apart from the herbs, the most essential thing on the path of cultivation was the spirit jade that could be used to assist cultivation. Xiaochen didn't forget that he had racked his brains to find a piece of spirit jade previously. There was no place to look for it now. However, if he could go to Little Hong's medicine store, he could use his identity to get some free herbs. But in this way, Xiaochen's original appearance would have to be restored. He didn't want to expose his identity so quickly. After all, the person in the medicine store wasn't Hongzhu and was only a stranger to him. Who knew if he could keep his mouth shut? It was better to be cautious. At the thought of this, Xiaochen missed Hongzhu and wondered how she was doing recently. After she left in a hurry, the two of them hadn't seen each other again. He vaguely heard that the Hong family seemed to have some problems, but he didn't know if she had solved it. In fact, Xiaochen thought of a way, which was to secretly borrow some money from Xia Zhili and make a trip to the Hakanamada desert. There were countless desert hermit scorpions there. If he could stay there for a period of time, not only would he be able to obtain spirit stones for the young miss cultivation, but he could also earn a lot of living expenses. However, the risk factor of this action was too high. Xiaochen didn't mind it, but he couldn't leave the young miss alone in Songning City. It would be terrible if she ran into trouble when she left. He couldn't think of a suitable way for the time being. In desperation, Xiaochen could only helplessly ask for help from the Elder Heaven Ancestor. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what should I do? I have no money and no spirit stones now. How can I let the young miss cultivation speed catch up? Isn't it simple? The Elder Heaven Ancestor said with contempt. Ah. Elder Heaven Ancestor, you have a way? Sure enough, Master is more powerful. Tell me quickly. Xiaochen was overjoyed and quickly asked. The two of you can do dual cultivation. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said matter-of-factly, since both of you are cultivators, the speed of dual cultivation will definitely be fast. It will be much faster than when you and Yi Xiaoya practiced dual cultivation. Dual cultivation? This. Xiaochen was shocked, and he immediately recalled the charming scene of him dual cultivating with Yi Xiaoya at that time. As he looked at the lovely and moving eldest young miss before him, he instantly let his imagination run wild and blurted out, Eldest young miss, I've thought of a good idea. We can dual cultivate. In this way, you can upgrade your level very quickly. How do we do it? Just like you and Yi Xiaoya? Cheng Menjing was stunned and asked with a red face. Although she was eager to improve her strength, she hadn't thought about further development with Xiaochen. Does this Xiaochen have an ulterior motive? Well, dual cultivation is actually very simple. After Yi Xiaoya practiced dual cultivation with me, she upgraded faster than taking an elevator. You're definitely better than her. Xiaochen nodded with a smile. I don't want to. I'm just your fiancé. Don't dream of having a relationship beyond friendship with me before we get married. I'm not as shameless as Yi Xiaoya. Seeing Xiaochen's wretched smile, Cheng Menjing was sure that this guy definitely had bad intentions, so she immediately rejected him. No, dual cultivation isn't actually that. You're thinking too much. Dual cultivation means. Xiaochen rubbed his nose awkwardly and gave a simple explanation of the concept of dual cultivation. Of course, Xiaochen thought that if young miss was really willing to do that with him, maybe she would upgrade faster, like sitting on a rocket. But since she didn't have this idea, there was no need for Xiaochen to say it. If he was not careful, he would be beaten up for no reason. Then we still have to take off our clothes, right? Even if we don't take it off, when we upgrade, the clothes on our body will be shattered? Cheng Menjing blinked her eyes and raised the question in her heart. When she was practicing before, she had encountered this kind of embarrassing situation. When she upgraded, her clothes would be shattered. But fortunately, they were all in the room at that time, and no one saw it. Yeah. But we can practice dual cultivation with a curtain between us, so you don't have to worry about what I will see. Xiaochen said after thinking about it. I see, then give me some time. Let me think about it first. Cheng Menjing suddenly fell into a dilemma and began to struggle. She wanted to gain strength, but she didn't want to let Xiaochen take advantage of her. Although there was a curtain, Cheng Menjing also knew that with the ability of a cultivator, that curtain was nothing at all. Okay, then I will go and cook first. Let me know when you think about it. Xiaochen also knew Cheng Menjing's character. She would definitely be entangled in this kind of thing for a long time, so he was not in a hurry to urge her. Instead, he went to busy himself. The days passed by peacefully. The two still got up early to sell fried dough sticks. Although they were very tired, and they would quarrel from time to time, they both felt that this kind of life was very warm in their hearts. Cheng Menjing had gradually mastered various skills of a cultivator. After continuous training, her six senses had become stronger. Under Xiaochen's guidance, she was like a fish in water when making fried dough sticks and fried cakes. She shared a lot of the workload for Xiaochen. Therefore, the two's business became more and more prosperous. Early in the morning every day, there would be a long line waiting to buy their fried dough sticks. If it weren't for the fact that they were on the run, Xiaochen would have thought about opening another branch. As for the matter of dual cultivation, the miss seemed to have completely forgotten it and never mentioned it again. If she didn't mention it, Xiaochen couldn't take the initiative to mention it, so he could only put it aside for now. On this night, Xiaochen was concentrating on cultivation in his room. Suddenly, he felt a murderous aura approaching from afar. It was quickly approaching the direction of this community. Xiaochen suddenly became vigilant. He thought in his heart, it seems that what will come will come. My whereabouts are still exposed. Chapter 882. But what puzzled Xiaochen was, how did Ma Peja find him? Logically speaking, it shouldn't be Miss Xing who snitched on him. Otherwise, Ma Peja would have come to kill him long ago. But apart from her, who else in Songning City knew that he was selling fried dough sticks in the morning market street and living in Tang Tang's house? It was even more impossible for Lu Shuangshuang. They hadn't seen each other since the last time they parted. Even if they followed the vine to the melon, the vine would have been rotten long ago. Xiaochen was puzzled. In fact, Ma Baobao had been staying in Songning City all this time. He had been looking for Xiaochen like crazy, but he still couldn't find him. He had almost turned the entire Songning City upside down. In the end, after searching for a long time, one of his disciples finally found some connections in the warrior guild and found out about some of Xiaochen's experiences after he fell from grace. The news was relayed to Headmaster Ma Peja. Only then did he recall what Red Hair said before and finally locked on to Tang Tang's house. After confirming Xiaochen's whereabouts, Ma Peja brought his disciples and rushed to the neighborhood near the morning market street overnight. He went straight to the place where Xiaochen lived and was ready to catch him in one fell swoop. As soon as he arrived at the unit where Xiaochen lived, Ma Peja saw the window on the third floor was suddenly pushed open. Xiaochen and Cheng Menjing rode on their flying swords and rushed out with a whoosh. It seemed that they were ready to escape. Humph. You want to play the same trick again? You won't be able to escape even if you have wings this time. Ma Peja wasn't surprised. Instead, he snorted and waved his hand in the direction of Xiaochen. A big net with barbs whizzed out and directly covered Xiaochen and Cheng Menjing. F***CK. What the hell is this? Xiaochen, who was standing on the flying sword, was startled. Before he could react, he was covered tightly by the net. He wanted to struggle free, but he didn't expect that there were countless barbs stuck to the net. They firmly hooked onto his clothes, making it impossible for him to break free. Just the fact that the barbs had hooked onto his clothes was secondary. The key was that when Xiaochen's skin was pierced by the barbs, he immediately felt his entire body tremble. The surface of his skin was instantly paralyzed, and he could not even circulate his primordial qi. Unable to control the flying swords, the two of them instantly lost their balance and fell from the sky, falling straight down the stairs. Ah! Xiaochen! Quickly think of a way. Cheng Menjing screamed, her voice trembling. Although she also knew that as a cultivator, falling from the third floor wouldn't be a problem, it was still the first time for her to directly face such a big crisis, so she was a little scared. Bang! Before Xiao Qin could reply, he and Qing Menjing fell to the ground with a loud thud. Fortunately, their cultivation wasn't weak, so it wasn't a big deal. As they didn't have primordial qi to protect their bodies, although Xiao Qin and Qing Menjing weren't seriously injured, they were still shaken to the point that they were dizzy. Ugh! Qing Menjing groaned in pain. She opened her eyes slightly and realized that she wasn't injured at all. Slightly surprised, Qing Menjing quickly felt that the bottom of her body seemed to be soft, not like the ground. Only after taking a closer look did she realize that Xiao Qin had protected her in his arms, using his body as a cushion to protect her. That was why she was safe and unscathed. Thinking of this, Qing Menjing was a little worried and a little touched. She wanted to struggle to stand up, but the moment she moved, she touched a few wounds on Xiao Qin's body. Xiao Qin couldn't bear it and cried out in pain, "Ouch, Xiao Qin, how are you?" Qing Menjing was shocked. She wanted to climb down from Xiao Qin's body, but she didn't dare to move too much. She looked around and saw that the net that trapped them was stuck with many sharp barbs. She panicked and didn't know what to do. "Menjing, don't be nervous, I'm fine. Think of a way to get rid of this net first, but the barbs on it seem a little strange. Be careful, don't get pricked." Xiao Qin gritted his teeth and endured the pain. He tried to circulate his primordial qi, but found that something seemed to have invaded his body, paralyzing several meridians, and his primordial qi couldn't circulate smoothly. "Okay, I'll try. But this net is so strange." Qing Menjing tried to tear the net apart, but she felt that not only was she unable to open it, but it was also getting tighter. Moreover, there was a lot of mucus on the net that stuck her fingers, and she couldn't exert any strength at all. "Ha ha ha. Don't waste your effort, this is an inescapable net weaved by the ancient spider spirit beast. You can't get rid of it. As for the barbs, I specially asked the craftsman to add them. I also smeared a poison that can paralyze a cultivator for a short period of time, and block the devil qi in the body. Even a Daluo golden immortal can't do anything about it," Ma Wuxia said proudly. In order to deal with Xiao Qin's untraceable flying sword, Ma Wuxia had gone all out this time. He took out the sect's only ancient divine weapon. Humph. I can't believe that the sect leader of the Kuei Mountain sect would use such despicable methods. You're even more shameless than me. Xiao Qin didn't seem to be moved, but he was very anxious. He could only ask the heavens, no, Elder Heaven Ancestor, for help. "Elder Heaven Ancestor. Quick, help me think of a way to break this inescapable net. Tisk, tsk. Now that your primordial qi is paralyzed, you can't do anything. Also, Nethery is in a dormant state, or she could have burned the net." Elder Heaven Ancestor was not as anxious as Xiao Qin. Instead, he said leisurely, "Who asked you to be so impulsive, wanting to kill that Ma Wuxia? Look, you've gotten yourself into big trouble now, haven't you? F*ck. Do you think I want to? Stop making sarcastic remarks. That Ma Wuxia has already heated up his lunch, waiting for me to collect it. You don't want to see your disciple get beaten to death, do you?" Xiao Qin was a little helpless. At this critical moment, Elder Heaven Ancestor still had the time to joke. "I say, Xiao Qin, you don't seem to understand. Although you can't use your primordial qi, your fiancé can. Why don't you just let her use a fireball technique to burn the net? However, with her level of cultivation, it will take a little more time." Elder Tian let out a long sigh and said unhurriedly, "Holy sh*t, you're clearly messing with me. Where do I have the time to wait for her to burn the net? How about, when Ma Wuxia attacks, you help me take a palm strike?" Xiao Qin was anxious. He didn't expect that at this critical moment, Elder Heaven Ancestor would not think about something practical and keep coming up with some stupid ideas. "Sure." Elder Heaven Ancestor agreed happily, but then he said, "But I haven't recovered to my best condition, and there's no little demon and Nethery to help share the damage. Even if I help you block it, you'll die. F*ck. Xiao Qin was speechless. He had a glimmer of hope, but Elder Heaven Ancestor extinguished it directly. Depressed, he whispered to Qing Menjing, "Young lady, I'll distract Ma Wuxia later. You use the fireball technique I taught you as soon as possible to burn this net." "Okay, I'll give it a try." Qing Menjing nodded slightly and replied softly. Although Qing Menjing didn't know if she could do it with her strength, she could only do as Xiao Qin said. "Xiao Qin, how about it? Have you finished saying your last words to your little lover? I don't have time to wait for you to write your last words. I'll send you down now to be buried with my son." Ma Wuxia was afraid that Xiao Qin would play some tricks again, so he didn't bother to talk to him and directly slapped Xiao Qin. "Young lady, now is the time." Xiao Qin gestured to Qing Menjing to destroy the net, while he gritted his teeth and protected her behind him. Looking at Ma Wuxia approaching quickly, Xiao Qin secretly prayed that he would accidentally step on a banana peel when he rushed over and get seriously injured, so that he could buy some time. However, Xiao Qin's wish didn't come true. The road between him and Ma Wuxia was smooth, without any banana peels. Just as Ma Wuxia's palm wind was about to touch Xiao Qin, a man in black with a bag on his back suddenly blocked in front of him. Without saying a word, he directly raised his hand to meet Ma Wuxia's palm. Bang! There was a loud noise. The man in black also displayed his extremely strong strength, forcibly blocking Ma Wuxia's attack. After the two powerful demonic auras collided, it formed a shock wave that spread in all directions. The turbulent airflow sent all the Kuei Mountain sect disciples who were standing at the side to watch the show flying. You're in the great perfection realm of Demon King level 10. Ma Wuxia didn't expect that someone would rush out to stop him. In a panic, his breath was slightly messed up, and he was shaken a few steps back. He spat out a mouthful of blood. He stared at the man in black in front of him, his face full of horror. Just now, Ma Wuxia was afraid that Xiao Qin had a backup plan, so he didn't use all his strength in that palm strike. However, the man in black's palm strike had the strength of the great perfection realm of Demon King level 10. Therefore, although the two of them were of the same level, Ma Wuxia was obviously at a disadvantage when their palms collided. However, the man in black didn't feel good either. Although he didn't spit out blood like Ma Wuxia, his internal organs also churned, and he was almost shaken out of place. "You. Who are you? Tell me your name if you have the guts. Sneaking around, what kind of man are you?" Ma Wuxia asked with a sullen face. Since he already knew that the other party's strength was the same as his, Ma Wuxia didn't dare to act rashly. "I'm the hero bandit who robbed the rich to help the poor, Robin Hood. I hate people like you who bully the weak the most. You actually killed this kind of commoner, so shameless. If you still want to live, then go back obediently." The man in black snorted coldly. Although he couldn't see the man in black's face clearly, Xiao Qin could immediately tell from her voice and figure that this person was no doubt Chick Xing. Her claim of Robin Hood was definitely made up. However, what puzzled Xiao Qin was why Chick Xing would suddenly help him. Chapter 883. Could it be that she had spied on him for so long just to save him? Could it be that she wanted to repay his kindness because he had treated her previously? You're not from the Desya Kingdom? Ma Peja was a little shocked. Where did this guy come from? Robin Hood was a foreign name. And he was actually a hero thief. Why did all foreign thieves have such high cultivation? Humph. Don't talk nonsense. Do you want to live or do you want to know where I am from? Miss Xing asked expressionlessly. In order to monitor Xiao Qin at all times, she and Ling Qianxue had rented a house in the district where Xiao Qin lived. Just now, she had felt Ma Peja's killing intent, so she rushed over and hid at the side to observe. She originally thought that Xiao Qin could smoothly escape with the help of the flying sword, but she didn't expect to be caught by Ma Peja's inescapable net. Miss Xing had no choice but to change into Ling Qianxue's nocturnal clothes and dress up as a thief to help. Wah-ya-ya-ya-ya. You little brat, how dare you challenge me? I will make sure you die without a burial place. Ma Peja was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head. Feeling that his injuries had slightly recovered, he roared and flew towards Miss Xing. Although Ma Peja seemed to be foolhardy in his rage and directly rushed forward, in reality, he had secretly used a hidden weapon between his index finger and thumb when he waved his palm. If one didn't observe carefully, it was basically impossible to tell. Seeing Ma Peja's action, Miss Xing was momentarily stunned. After exchanging blows with Ma Peja, she could clearly feel that his injuries were heavier than hers. She didn't expect him to still dare to take the initiative to attack. Could it be that he has a special recovery technique and has already healed his injuries? But that's not very likely. How could the Kai Tian sect not know what good things the Kuei Shan sect had? Although she was muttering in her heart, Miss Xing's movements did not have the slightest bit of hesitation. She once again struck out towards Ma Peja. But at this moment, she suddenly heard Xiaochen shout from behind, "Lady boy! Don't touch Ma Peja's palm." It turned out that at that moment, with the help of the moonlight, Xiaochen saw a flash of light in Ma Wuzhuan's palm and immediately understood his intention. However, Xiaochen's reminder came too late. Before he could finish his sentence, Xing and Ma Beiqi's palms were already touching. Bang! Another loud sound rang out. An even stronger airflow spread out from the space between little Chick Xing and Ma Weijia. Under the impact of the airflow, Xiao Chen and Qing Menjing were instantly blown away and fell to the ground not far away. Fortunately, Qing Menjing had already burned a hole in the inescapable net, and the two of them broke free from the control of the inescapable net. You're so despicable. To actually use such a vicious concealed weapon. Under the exchange of palms, Miss Xing's body trembled. Her skin felt numb as if an electric current had passed through it. Her legs went soft and she fell to the ground. She discovered that there was a shiny barb in her palm. She was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. Pooh! Ma Beiqi spat out a mouthful of black blood. He was already seriously injured and his skills were greatly reduced. Now that he had forcefully exchanged a palm with Miss Xing, not only did he not kill her, but he had also aggravated his internal injuries. However, his trick had still succeeded. Although Miss Xing was not seriously injured, the concealed weapon was smeared with a numbing poison. Once it entered her body, she would not be able to move for a short period of time. As long as he could control this strange nocturnal bandit, he would be able to find time to kill Xiao Chen. Ma Beiqi did not care about Miss Xing on the ground. He forcefully used his remaining trace of demonic qi and directly chased in the direction that Xiao Chen had escaped. At this time, Xiao Chen was still running with difficulty. Beside him was a limping Qing Menjing. After breaking free from the inescapable net, there were still a few barbs in Xiao Chen's body. It was difficult to get them out in a short period of time, so he could not use sword kinesis flight. He could only stumble forward. However, no matter how hard Xiao Chen tried, he could not run fast. After running for a short distance, Ma Beiqi was about to catch up. Ha ha ha. Xiao Chen, don't struggle pointlessly. Just obediently give up. What's that? Ma Beiqi enjoyed the feeling of beating a drowning dog and laughed arrogantly. His attention was originally focused on Xiao Chen. Unexpectedly, a black shadow suddenly appeared beside him, giving Ma Beiqi a fright. Ma Beiqi looked down and realized that the black shadow was a black mutt. His originally nervous mood immediately relaxed. He raised his leg indifferently and wanted to kick the dog away. However, he did not expect that the dog's speed was so fast. It went past his leg and directly bit down on his crotch. Ouch! Ma Beiqi howled in pain and knelt down. He covered his bloody lower body and kept rolling on the ground. After the mutt bit down, it did not stop and chased after Xiao Chen's back. Wow, invincible dog, beautifully done. It is really worth it for me to raise you so well. Later, I will reward you with a can of high-grade dog food. Xiao Chen gave Invincible Dog a thumbs up and praised. He also saw the thrilling scene just now. If it was not for Invincible Dog's stroke of genius, perhaps he and Miss would really have to die here today. Stingy. Invincible Dog made a great contribution this time. Even if you give him high-grade dog food for the rest of his life, it will not be a problem. Cheng Menjing snorted in disgust. While running away, she did not forget to pat Invincible Dog's head twice to show encouragement. Woof! Invincible Dog barked loudly. He ran while wagging his tail, looking very proud. At this time, little Chick Xing finally pulled out the barbs on her palm. The numbness in her body also disappeared. She was about to die from anger. No matter what, she had the strength of a Demon King level 10 great perfection, yet she was defeated by such a low-grade hidden weapon. If Ma Beiki was not in a hurry to chase after Xiao Chen just now, she would have been killed. The more little Chick Xing thought about it, the angrier she got. She looked up and saw Ma Beiki rolling on the ground not far away. She immediately stood up and rushed over. She punched and kicked Ma Beiki to vent the anger in her heart. Puff! Ma Beiki already had serious internal injuries. In addition, his penis was bitten off by Invincible Dog. At this time, he was unable to resist little Chick Xing's storm-like punches and kicks. He was beaten until he vomited blood. He could only protect his head and face and passively take the beating. After beating for a while, little Chick Xing could only stop when she saw Ma Beiki's bruised appearance. She couldn't really kill this guy. Otherwise, she would not be able to explain to Elder Sun when she returned. Humph. I'm in a good mood today. I'll spare your dog life for now. After beating him up, little Chick Xing's anger was almost gone. She snorted coldly and kicked Ma Beiki again. Then, she disappeared into the darkness and chased in the direction where Xiao Chen escaped. Ma Beiki, who was beaten to the face, was extremely depressed. What the F***ck was going on? Not only did he not kill Xiao Chen, but a Demon King level 10 great perfection appeared out of nowhere to oppose him. Moreover, there was also a spiritual beast dog at the peak of Demon Master level 10. When did so many tough things appear in the secular world? Could it be that I went the wrong way and went to the inner martial arts world? In desperation, Ma Beiki could only accept his bad luck. He endured the pain on his body and crawled up with difficulty. He ran back to the Quishan sect overnight to recuperate. He planned to find trouble with Xiao Chen after some time. However, his injuries could be recovered, but Ma Beiki's manly spirit could no longer be restored. He didn't know where Invincible Dog threw the thing it bit off. He couldn't find it after searching for a long time, so he could only leave dejectedly. Xiao Chen, where are we going? Can we no longer sell youtiao in the future? Cheng Menjing was already standing on the flying sword that Xiao Chen was riding at this time. She held Invincible Dog in her arms and asked with a solemn face. In fact, Cheng Menjing quite missed the days of selling youtiao. Although she was always tired from waking up early to sleeping late every day, and she always had to worry that she would be seen through, she lived a very fulfilling life. Missy felt that her life seemed to be more stable than before when she didn't have to worry about food and clothing. Now that she couldn't sell youtiao, she was a little disappointed. She originally wanted to take some time to return to the Cheng family to tell them that she was safe, but she never had the chance to go. She felt very upset, and she didn't know how her father and grandfather were doing recently. Let's go hide in Lon City first. Ma Beiki is seriously injured, so he can't do anything to us for the time being. However, we can't let our guard down either. It'll be too dangerous if we stay in Songming City, Xiao Chen replied calmly, but he was thinking about something else. Xiao Chen was a little surprised by Miss Xing's help. Awakening Sect was obviously the backer of the Kuei Mountain sect in the martial arts world. She should have joined forces with Ma Beiki to deal with him. In the end, not only did she not help, but she blocked the attack for him and even injured the other party. What kind of inside story was hidden in this? But, we don't even have a place to stay when we go to Lon City. We only have tens of thousands of yuan left. How are we going to sustain ourselves? Cheng Menjing asked worriedly. Now that their only source of income had been cut off, would they have to rely on begging to survive from now on? Let's take it one step at a time. If it really doesn't work, I'll use the money to start a small business. Don't worry, Missy. As long as I'm here, I won't let you go hungry. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and shook his head. When he was in dire straits, he couldn't even afford a bowl of noodles, but didn't he still make it through? There was nothing that couldn't be done, only the determination that wasn't brave enough. All right, that's the only way. Cheng Menjing nodded helplessly. It was already late at night when they arrived at Lan City. Xiao Chen randomly found an express hotel to stay in. In order to save money, he only booked the cheapest standard room with 2 beds for 2 people. Cheng Menjing didn't object. She was already used to sleeping in the same room with Xiao Chen. If they were really separated, she wouldn't be used to it. The next morning, Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing both woke up and went to the hotel's restaurant for breakfast. Chapter 884. During the meal, the two noticed many parents checking into hotels with their children. From their conversation, they could tell that these people were obviously going to report to the nearby Lan City University. Looking at the excited students, Cheng Menjing suddenly remembered that it was time for the start of university. If she hadn't met with so many accidents back then, she would definitely have gone to university too. But now, she was running for her life, on the run everywhere. Not only did she live in fear every day, she also had to worry about how to earn money to live. It seemed that she would never have the chance to step into a university in this lifetime. Eldest miss, do you want to experience university life too? Seeing Cheng Menjing's envious and melancholic expression, Xiao Chen guessed what was on her mind and felt a little guilty. If it wasn't for his momentary impulse, would the eldest miss be so miserable that she would have to run for her life with him? No matter what, he had to make it up to her. I'm just thinking about it. I can't even pay the tuition fees now, and I'm still on the run. Sigh. Cheng Menjing sighed, her tone full of disappointment. If I had a way to let you study at Lan City University for free, would you go? Xiao Chen asked as he took out his phone. His hands didn't stop moving as he swiftly swapped in a new SIM card he bought from a roadside stall a few days ago. TSK, you make it sound nice. Do you think you're the one who opened the university? Do you think you can go just because you say so? Cheng Menjing rolled her eyes, but she was secretly looking forward to it. Could it be that Xiao Chen really had the ability? Xiao Chen smiled and didn't choose to bicker with Cheng Menjing. Instead, he dialed a number on his phone. Hello, who is this? After the call connected, a middle-aged man's voice came from the other end after a while. Deputy Director Xia, I'm Xiao Chen. I'm staying in Lan City now, and I need your help with something. Xiao Chen originally wanted to call Ling Tian, but felt that he might be busy, so he called Xia Zhili instead. It's you. Why did you go to Lan City again? Is there a problem? Xia Zhili was surprised. I did run into some trouble. Yesterday, my identity was exposed by Ma Wuxia. He brought a group of people to find me in the middle of the night, and then... Xiao Chen briefly recounted what happened last night. I see. What do you plan to do next? What did you want me to help you with? After Xia Zhili heard this, he felt a headache coming on. Unfortunately, there was nothing he could do. Fortunately, Xiao Chen was injured and wouldn't appear in the near future. He should give Xiao Chen some help in other aspects. Oh, it's not a big deal. Cheng Menjing and I want to study at Lanqing University, so I'd like to ask for your help in arranging the admission procedures here, Xiao Chen said lightly. No problem. I'll send someone to do it. Wait for my news. Xia Zhili readily agreed. Although he didn't know why Xiao Chen suddenly wanted to go to university, he didn't plan to get to the bottom of it. Xiao Chen must have his own reasons for doing so. Thank you, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, Xiao Chen nodded. He knew that Xia Zhili would definitely be able to solve the problem, so he didn't say anything else. Why are you being so polite with me? It's nothing. Xia Zhili brushed over this matter. Then, he suddenly thought of something and said, oh right. Because your bank card is being monitored, your salary is still with me for the time being. If you need any money, just let me know. Okay, I understand. Xiao Chen chatted with Xia Zhili for a while longer before hanging up. He gave an okay gesture to Qing Menjing. Just a phone call? You've already settled the university procedures? Qing Menjing asked doubtfully. Yeah, the Supernatural Investigation Bureau still has some power in the secular world. This kind of small matter can be settled in minutes. Xiaochen waved his hand and said indifferently. Qing Menjing still didn't believe it. She thought that Xiaochen was bragging, so she didn't take it to heart and changed the topic. It wasn't until that afternoon that Xia Zhili personally sent the admission notice to the two of them and specially gave Xiaochen a large sum of money that Qing Menjing believed what Xiaochen said was true. She was sincerely convinced by him. After receiving the admission notice, Xiaochen and Qing Menjing followed the photo and transformed themselves into two other people. Because the appearance in the photo wasn't too outstanding, it wouldn't attract the attention of others. The department that Xia Zhili arranged for them was inconspicuous, and the major that they studied couldn't be any more unpopular. This was also because Xia Zhili was afraid that they would be too ostentatious, so he deliberately made it more low-key. Department of Archaeology. Ancient Martial Arts Research Major? Xiaochen looked at the major on the admission notice and wondered, what the hell is this major? I've never heard of it. Who would study such a minor major for no reason? This Xia Zhili isn't reliable at all. Don't be so calculative. Do you want to enter the arts department and take the opportunity to hook up with beautiful girls? Qing Menjing pouted. She didn't care much about the major. It was already good enough to be able to attend university, but she didn't know how long she could stay there. If she was discovered by the Quishan sect, she would probably have to run for her life again. With you, my legitimate fiancé, by my side, how would I dare to touch other girls? Otherwise, if I get beaten up by a powerful cultivator like you, wouldn't I be asking for trouble? I won't do such a thing where the losses outweigh the gains. Xiaochen smiled and shook his head. That's nice to hear. Didn't you flirt with Lu Shuangshuang in front of me before? Now, you're serious. Although Qing Menjing didn't sound very happy, she was very happy in her heart. It seemed that Xiaochen still placed her in a very important position. How would I know that you were watching from upstairs? Xiaochen touched his nose and muttered. Qing Menjing glared at him and snatched the admission notice from his hand. Oh yeah. I have to change our names. It'll be easier to call each other in the future, so that we won't be noticed. Xiaochen didn't object. After Qing Menjing finished writing, he looked over and saw that his name was written, Xiao Yi, and the lady's name was Qing Yao Yao. Looking at the name change notice, Qing Menjing nodded in satisfaction and handed it to Xiaochen. Take it. Remember, if someone calls Xiao Yi in the future, don't be in a daze. It'll be troublesome if you accidentally expose yourself. Yes, Miss Qing Yao Yao, Xiaochen said helplessly. However, this admission notice was special. The school didn't have a record, and the name could be filled in casually. As long as the Supernatural Investigation Bureau contacted them, it would be fine. What should we do next? It's getting late. It looks like we can only report tomorrow. Qing Menjing looked out the window. The sky was gradually darkening. Why don't we do what we love to do, Xiaochen was only halfway through his joke when he saw Qing Menjing frowning and glaring at him with an unfriendly expression. He had no choice but to change his words. Let's go to the supermarket to buy some daily necessities. Otherwise, we'll be at a loss when we get to the dormitory. At least you said something reasonable. Qing Menjing snorted and left the hotel with Xiaochen. They first went to a small restaurant nearby to eat something for dinner. Then, they went to a large supermarket next to the restaurant. Since the two of them fled to Lan City overnight, they basically didn't bring anything with them. Other than buying some daily necessities, they also had to buy a few sets of clothes and 2 large suitcases. Xiaochen was very casual. To him, it didn't matter what he wore, so he quickly chose. On the other hand, Qing Menjing was different. She used to wear famous brands and used imported shampoo and shower gel. Therefore, she didn't buy anything in the supermarket at all. It took her a long time to choose from the shelves. After buying everything else, she even bought a few sets of underwear and panties. Only then did she pay the bill and return to the hotel in satisfaction. Early the next morning, Xiaochen checked out of the room. He and Qing Menjing first found a pet shop to keep invincible. Then, they carried a pile of luggage and walked to Lon City University to report. It was Qing Menjing's first time entering a university. Everything she saw was new. After all, Lon City University was several times bigger than Songmingno. 2 High School. She couldn't see the end of it at a glance. The young lady who had just entered a university looked at the parents and students in 2s and 3s around her. She couldn't help but feel a little excited. Xiao Chen, on the other hand, led the way in front with a calm expression. He had stayed in Lanqing University for a period of time before, so he was very familiar with the distribution of the various office buildings, so he directly led Qing Menjing in the direction of the new student registration center. Xiao Chen. Watching Xiao Chen walk forward, Qing Menjing was a little puzzled. Why does this guy seem to have been here before? She was about to ask about the situation but accidentally blurted out Xiao Chen's name. She hurriedly coughed twice to cover it up. Ahem. Xiao Yi, do you know the new student registration office? I feel like you're very familiar with this university. Oh, I came to Lon City University for a mission before, so I'm quite familiar with the environment. Xiao Chen said lightly. He didn't want to explain too much lest the young lady get jealous again. Qing Menjing was stunned. Did you come here for a mission? Why didn't Xiao Chen mention this to me? Just as she was about to ask more questions, a gentle male voice came over. Beautiful junior, which faculty are you going to? Do you know the way? Why don't you let Senior Ice Cream take you there? Hearing this voice, although Qing Menjing's expression didn't change, she was a little surprised and excited in her heart. She had also heard that there would be a lot of sophomore and junior year students who would take the opportunity to hook up with beautiful girls during the new student registration office. But her current appearance was very ordinary. Why did she encounter such a thing? Chapter 885. Is it because of her natural beauty? Even if she transforms into another face, it's difficult to conceal her inner elegance. Yes. That must be the case. It seems like the seniors of Lon City University have good taste. While Qing Menjing was still immersed in her fantasy, another girl's voice responded to the senior. Thank you, senior, but I'm still waiting for a friend to leave with me. I won't trouble you. Qing Menjing was stunned again. When she raised her head, she realized that a girl who was not inferior to her original appearance was standing not far away. Beside her stood a very handsome boy. The boy's skin was as fair as ice cream, and he was tall and handsome. One look and you could tell that he was a pretty boy. In an instant, Qing Menjing's face burned. She almost made a big mistake. Fortunately, her appearance had been transformed. Even if she looked like a piece of red cloth, no one would be able to tell. Chuxia, there are too many students in this university. There's a long line just to use the restroom. Sister Souring almost couldn't hold it in just now. The senior, Ice Cream, wanted to continue, but he was pushed to the side by Tian Souring and almost fell to the ground. Xiao Chen was also stunned when he heard the voice. He couldn't help but feel surprised. He turned to look at the source of the voice and realized that it was Tian Souring and Su Chuxia. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? That's right, Su Chuxia and Tian Souring were also here to report to Lon City University. As soon as they entered, Tian Souring ran to find the restroom, while Su Chuxia, who waited in place, ran into Ice Cream, a senior who specialized in seducing new juniors. Ice Cream's name was Shui Gao. He was the young master of Lon City's Shui family. Because of his fair appearance and refined manners, many girls nicknamed him Ice Cream. Despite Shui Gao's sanctimonious appearance, he had actually harmed many new girls in secret. However, to the surprise of those who didn't know the truth, he had never been scolded because of this. The reason was also very simple. After Shui Gao got bored of those girls, he would use all kinds of bitter reasons to break up with them. For example, there was a huge disparity in their family background, and their parents didn't agree to it. Or, it was not the girl's first time, and it would bring shame to her family, and so on. This would make the girl feel guilty, and then she would take the opportunity to give the other party a considerable sum of money as compensation. Some of the inexperienced girls naturally didn't understand Shui Gao's sinister intentions and were easily convinced by his words. There were also some girls who came for the money. Since Shui Gao was willing to pay, they didn't care about anything else. Of course, as the saying goes, if you often walk by the river, how could you not wet your shoes? Sometimes, there were some girls who really liked Shui Gao, so after they broke up, they refused to accept his money, and they didn't believe his lies. They insisted that Shui Gao give them an explanation. Then, he would use the power of his family to find someone to settle the matter with the girl. Little girl, are you blind? You even dare to push senior ice cream? Hurry up and apologize. Seeing that Shui Gao was pushed, his subordinates hurriedly steadied him, then pointed at Tian sourly and scolded. You're the blind one. It was clearly this pretty boy blocking the way. Sister Source merely gave him a light touch and he was sent flying to the side. Your body is too weak, yet you still have the nerve to blame others? Tian Source rolled his eyes as he spoke rudely. You. That subordinate wanted to continue scolding, but he was stopped by Shui Gao. Turning his head, Shui Gao smiled at Tian sourly and said, Hee, this junior is right. It was indeed my fault. I shouldn't have blocked your way. Senior Ice Cream apologizes to you. The reason why Shui Gao was so tolerant was mainly because Su Chuxia and Tian Suruan were just too beautiful. He had been in Lanxing University for so many years, and other than the campus belle, Ling Qianyu, he had never seen a girl of such high quality. Originally, he wanted to make a move on Ling Qianyu, but her background was too powerful. Although the Shui family was prestigious in Lan City, they didn't dare to go against the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. As for some traditional techniques to pick up girls, such as sending flowers and treating them to meals, Ling Qianyu was completely immune to them. Shui Gao tried for a long time, but to no avail. In the end, he could only choose to give up. Since you're so sincere, Big Sister sourly will forgive you. You can kneel and rest. Tian sourly waved her hand casually, then turned to Su Chuxia and said, Chuxia, have you found the registration counter for the metal material engineering major? Let's hurry up and settle the admission procedures, then go eat. Are you a pig? You just had breakfast, and you're hungry again? Su Chuxia glared at her and pointed not far away. There, we'll register over there. Let's move our luggage to the dormitory first, then find the cafeteria to eat. Okay. Let's hurry over. Tian sourly nodded excitedly, then ran over with Su Chuxia, leaving Shui Gao standing there in a daze. He didn't know what to say. By the time he opened his mouth to ask them to stay, the two girls had already run far away. Although Xiao Chen was registering, his ears weren't idle. When he heard that the two girls were applying for the metal material engineering major, he couldn't help but be stunned. Although this major wasn't as unpopular as his major, it wasn't popular either. Moreover, most of the students were male. Didn't the girls usually apply for the literature or art majors? However, after thinking about it carefully, Xiao Chen understood. Su Chuxia must have applied for this major to inherit her father's career. As for Tian sourly, he was probably just a bystander, hanging around Su Chuxia's side. Because Xiao Chen looked different now, after completing the admission procedures, he didn't greet the two girls. Instead, he brought Xing Menjing to the other side and prepared to register at the archaeology department. Not long after, Su Chuxia and Tian sourly were also done. The two of them were looking left and right for the female dormitory. Shui Gao, who had been waiting at the back, saw them and immediately went up to them. He smiled innocently and said, Two beauties, are you done with the admission procedures? I wonder if this senior has the honor to treat you to lunch? Huh? Chuxia, don't you think that person looks like Xiao Chang? Just as Su Chuxia was about to refuse, Tian Suruan suddenly tugged on her sleeve and pointed excitedly at the back of a boy. Sourly, are you crazy because you miss Xiao Chang? How could he appear in Lanqing University? Su Chuxia replied. She looked in the direction Tian sourly was pointing and saw Xiao Chen's back. Tian sourly shook Su Chuxia's arm and said, he really looks like him. Look carefully. Huh? He really does look like him. It shouldn't be. Is he here on a mission again? Why didn't he tell us beforehand? Su Chuxia mumbled softly. Let's go and take a look. Seeing that Su Chuxia agreed, Tian sourly dragged her and chased after them. Hey, hey, hey. Sourly, what are you doing? Don't you see there's a girl beside him? Don't scare me. Su Chuxia was shocked and said helplessly. However, she wasn't as strong as Tian sourly, so she could only be dragged along. So what if that girl is Xiao Chang's girlfriend? At most, we'll have a threesome. Sister sourly doesn't have much time left. If we don't go crazy, we'll be done for, Tian sourly said nonchalantly as she ran. Hearing Tian sourly's words, Su Chuxia couldn't refute and could only follow her. At that moment, Shui Gao, who was completely ignored by the two girls, had an extremely ugly expression on his face. It was as if he had been constipated for a few days. If it wasn't for the fact that they were in public, he would have exploded a long time ago. This was already the second time he was ignored by these two girls today. As the school hunk of Lanqing University, he used to be surrounded by girls wherever he went. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? Big head, go and investigate these two girls and see where they come from, Shui Gao ordered his subordinate as he stared at Su Chuxia and Tian sourly's backs. Okay, young Master Shui. Just wait for my good news. Shui Gao's subordinate, who was called Big Head, licked his lips and quickly ran to the new student registration counter. After a few words, he slapped a stack of money and bought Su Chuxia and Tian sourly's information. The student council members in charge of registration were also helpless. They didn't dare to anger the great Shui Gao, so they could only obediently hand over the information. After all, they were just taking a photo for Big Head. It wasn't a dereliction of duty, right? Shui Gao couldn't help but feel a little proud as he flipped through the information of the two girls. From the information, Su Chuxia's family was very ordinary, while Tian sourly's family was even more unknown. Neither of them had a strong background. Since that was the case, Shui Gao felt a lot more at ease. These two girls were probably new to the university and wanted to pretend to be innocent. As long as he took the initiative, he would be able to conquer them sooner or later. If he really couldn't do it, he would use force and take all of them. Since they didn't have any background, he wasn't afraid at all. Xiao Yi, you were staring at those two beautiful girls just now. Were you thinking of unhealthy things? Tell me the truth. Cheng Menjing was a little unhappy as she walked with Xiao Chen. This guy couldn't move at the sight of beautiful girls. With this kind of behavior, he would probably fall into the hands of women sooner or later. Slap. Before Xiao Chen could answer, he felt someone pat his shoulder. He turned around and was surprised to see Tian sourly standing behind him. Behind her was Su Chuxia, who was panting. He pretended to be confused and asked, "Students, who are you looking for?" Ah. Tian sourly saw that it was a stranger who turned around and was instantly very disappointed. She waved her hand in embarrassment and said, "I'm sorry. Sorry to disturb you, I mistook you for someone else." "Oh, it's fine. You two are so beautiful. What are your names? Which faculty are you from? They say that it takes 500 times in a previous life to exchange for a painless abortion in this life. Since we are so fated, why don't we have a meal together?" Xiao Chen didn't plan to let them go so easily. He teased them with a smirk. Chapter 886. Pfft. I don't have time for you. You already have a girlfriend, and you're still trying to seduce us. You're definitely not a good person. I advise you to cherish what's in front of you, bye-bye. Tian Souring said with a look of disgust. Then, He pulled Su Chuxia away as he cursed in his heart, "You're so ugly, yet you still have the nerve to flirt around. Moreover, you did it in front of your girlfriend. How shameless." However, Su Chuxia, who was dragged away by Tian Souring, did not think so. She did not know why, but when she saw Xiao Qin, she felt a sense of familiarity with him even though he looked unfamiliar. It was as if the two of them had known each other for a long time. Could it be that they had looked back 500 times in their previous lives? Xiao Yi. I realize that you're getting more and more filthy. How dare you say, painless, in front of so many girls? What was that? Even if you're shameless, there should be a limit, alright? Cheng Menjing scolded him with a stern face after she watched Tian Souring and Su Chuxia walk away. Huh, what's wrong with that? It's not like I don't know them. I was just joking. Xiao Qin shook his head with a smile. He did it on purpose to make Su Chuxia and Tian Souring stop paying attention to him. You know them? Cheng Menjing was shocked. She asked suspiciously, "Don't tell me they're your mistresses, or mistresses." That's not it. Didn't I tell you just now? I was on a mission at Lanqing University. I was in charge of protecting a girl, the one just now. Xiao Qin shrugged. He briefly explained Su Chuxia and Tian Souring's identities, as well as his mission. Oh, I see. Looks like you're still hiding a lot from me. Cheng Menjing felt a little uncomfortable. She thought about it and asked, "You really have nothing to do with them?" Ever since she discovered the adultery between Xiao Qin and Lu Shuangshuang, Cheng Menjing became a little suspicious. As long as a beautiful girl talked to Xiao Qin, she would feel that there was something wrong. Don't let your imagination run wild. I really don't have that kind of relationship, but I'm on good terms with them. I should be considered good friends. Xiao Qin smiled and said, "Otherwise, I wouldn't have made such a joke." Well, I'll believe you this time. Just do what you say. Seeing that Xiao Qin's attitude was very indifferent, Cheng Menjing also believed 70% to 80%. She was too lazy to ask more. In any case, she would be able to see him every day. If she wanted to catch the adulterer, wouldn't it be a matter of minutes? The two of them came to the classroom of the ancient martial arts research major with big and small bags. In the end, they found that there were only 3 male students sitting in the entire classroom. Including Xiao Qin and Cheng Menjing who were standing at the door, there were only a total of 5 people. The huge classroom seemed very deserted. However, Xiao Qin was not surprised by this scene. Archaeology was a very boring subject. Coupled with the fact that it was an unpopular major like ancient martial arts research, there was even less interest in applying for it. After all, it was not easy for young students to pass the college entrance examination. They all hoped to find a university that they liked and a popular major to study, such as international trade management, computer technology, or law. Moreover, it was easier for students who studied such major to find a job after graduation. Who would have nothing better to do and come to study ancient martial arts? After looking around the classroom, Xiao Qin carried his bags and walked in. Cheng Menjing followed behind him. Xiao Qin looked at the other 3 students sitting in the classroom without batting an eyelid. One of them seemed to be very aloof, sitting there expressionlessly. He only shot a glance at the new student and then ignored him. No one knew what he was thinking. The other one was silently reading a book. He did not even raise his head. Xiao Qin quietly glanced at him. He found that he was reading a book that looked like a martial arts secret book. However, he did not know what the content was. The person had only opened the middle 2 pages. Without being able to connect the context, Xiao Qin could not understand it at all. As for the remaining person, he was very enthusiastic. As soon as Xiao Qin and Cheng Menjing stepped into the classroom, that person immediately greeted them with a smile. Hello. My name is Jia Muzin. I am an ancient martial arts enthusiast. Jia Muzin first shook hands with Xiao Qin. Then, he smiled and nodded to Cheng Menjing. After all, she was a girl. Although she was not very beautiful, it was not appropriate to casually shake hands. Hello, my name is Xiao Yi. This is my girlfriend, Qing Yao Yao. We did not study ancient martial arts. It was only because we were curious that we signed up for this major. Xiao Qin said straightforwardly. Hearing the other party say that he was an ancient martial arts enthusiast, Xiao Qin could not say that he was also an ancient martial arts enthusiast, right? If he came up for an academic discussion, wouldn't he be stumped? Hee, so that's how it is. You spent a whole 4 years to be curious about this major. It seems that the two of you are really interested in this. Jia Muzin was a little surprised and asked in surprise. Xiao Qin smiled and did not answer. He knew that his statement was a little hasty, but he could not find a more suitable reason at the moment. Actually, ancient martial arts is quite interesting. If you are interested in learning more, I can take some time to explain the introductory knowledge in this area. Jia Muzin did not pursue this matter too much. Instead, he pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose and enthusiastically introduced the subject. In his opinion, perhaps these two people had impressive backgrounds. They were second-generation rich or something. They came to university for entertainment and did not have any requirements for their major. This kind of thing was very common, so Jia Muzin did not find it strange. Okay, thank you very much. Xiao Qin smiled and nodded. His first impression of Jia Muzin was quite good. After sitting down, he chatted with him for a while. Not long after, the classroom door was pushed open with a click. An old man who looked like a pedant walked in. After glancing at the students in the classroom, he walked to the podium. Hello, students. I am the instructor in charge of teaching ancient martial arts. I am also the only instructor in Lon City University who has the honor of being a tenured professor in the Department of Archaeology. Although the old man was over 60 years old, his legs were very agile. He came to the center of the podium in a few steps and introduced himself. Xiao Qin and the others were shocked. They did not expect the old man to have such a loud voice despite his thin body. Everyone quickly sat up straight and focused on the teacher on the podium. The old man nodded with satisfaction and continued, My surname is Zhong. You can call me Professor Zhong or Sir Zhong. You can also call me Professor Zhong. Pfft. Xiao Qin almost spat out. He did not expect this Professor Zhong to be so fashionable. He did not look like an old man at all. In our ancient martial arts department, there are a total of 6 freshmen reporting this year, but now I have counted, there are only 5 people. As for where the other male student went, I don't want to know. After all, the class hasn't officially started yet, so I won't bother with him so much. Professor Zhong looked at the roster in his hand and knocked on the table casually. Xiao Qin and Qing Menjing looked at each other with a helpless expression. Although they knew that they had entered an unpopular department, it was too unpopular. There were only 6 people in the entire department. It was estimated that a row of tables could not be filled. The young miss was even more worried. Professor Zhong just said that the remaining student was also a male student. Then she was the only girl in this department. What would happen to the dormitory if that was the case? Professor Zhong paused, put his hand on the table and continued, Next, you will go to the dormitory to rest first and then familiarize yourselves with the environment of Lon City University. After the official start of the semester, the school will arrange 10 days of military training and welcome party for the freshmen. I will tell you the specific time and content of the party when the time comes. Are there any other questions? Xiao Qin and the other boys shook their heads. It was their first day meeting Professor Zhong, so they did not know what to ask. Professor Zhong, Qing Menjing plucked up the courage to speak but was interrupted by Professor Zhong. I know what you want to ask. Since you are the only girl in this department, your dormitory will be together with the girls of other departments. When you go to the girls' dormitory later, ask the teacher in charge there and you will know. Oh. Okay. Qing Menjing was stunned and answered subconsciously. Then she heard Professor Zhong ask again, Who else has a question? Looking at the silent crowd, Professor Zhong shrugged and said, Very good. I have already given you a chance to ask questions. Since none of you asked, don't come to me if you are caught unprepared. Dismissed. After saying that, he picked up the roster on the table, turned around, and walked out of the classroom. I still have a question. Ching Menjing muttered softly, her expression not looking too good. Why is this old man in such a hurry? I haven't even finished asking my question. He's running away faster than a monkey. The boy who was reading and the aloof boy waited for Professor Zhong to leave. Without saying a word, they packed up and left the classroom. It seemed that they went to find their own dormitories. Xiao Chen and Jia Muzhen looked at each other and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why is this Professor Zhong like an old urchin? He doesn't have the tone and magnanimity of an elder at all. It's just like the saying, the old should be arrogant, the young should be steady. Xiao Yi, why didn't you ask where the girls' dormitory of the archaeology department is just now? Do you want me to look for it alone? Ching Menjing had nowhere to vent her anger, so she simply fired at Xiao Chen. Professor Zhong has a weird temper. I just hesitated for a moment, and he actually ran away. He even said that I shouldn't look for him if I am caught unprepared. What kind of teacher is this? It's okay, I will go with you. I am quite familiar with the girls' dormitory. Xiao Chen had been there many times before. I will also go with you. I am not very familiar with the environment here. It just so happens that I can have a companion. Jia Muzhen continued with a smile. Ching Menjing rolled her eyes at Xiao Chen. She originally wanted to ask him why he was so familiar with the girls' dormitory, and if he often went in and peeped at girls bathing. However, with Jia Muzhen by her side, she held back. Chapter 887. Xiao Chen did not refuse. He could see that Jia Muzhen's character was not bad. Although he was more enthusiastic, he was still polite and didn't talk much. It would be best if he could become his roommate. The three of them dragged their bags and walked towards the dormitory. They did not receive much attention on the way. After all, Xiao Chen and Jia Muzhen looked like loser young men, and Ching Menjing's appearance was relatively ordinary. She was the kind of person who could not be found in the crowd, so no one paid attention to the three of them. When they arrived at the dormitory, Ching Menjing realized that the boys' dormitory and the girls' dormitory were facing each other. No wonder Xiao Chen said such strange things. Lanqing University was a relatively high-class university. The dormitories were all simple two-person rooms, and they were all divided according to their major. As expected, Xiao Chen's wish came true. He and Jia Muzhen were indeed assigned to the same dormitory. However, Ching Menjing was the only girl in the ancient martial arts major, so she could only be coordinated and arranged in the dormitory of other majors, as Professor Zhong had already said just now. Originally, Xiao Chen wanted to find Professor Zhong to coordinate and see if he could arrange a separate room for Ching Menjing, but considering what Professor Zhong had just said, he had to give up this idea. Besides, even if he wanted to find him, he didn't know where to find him. In desperation, Xiao Chen could only find a tutor in charge of the girls' dormitory. After explaining the situation in detail to her, she happily took Ching Menjing to arrange a dormitory. Lanqing University focused on science and engineering. There were more men's dormitories and fewer women's dormitories, so there were basically no vacancies. Even if there were single people living in, they were all people with backgrounds who could not be offended. Therefore, when the tutor in charge looked for them at the beginning, she was also confused and didn't know where to start. Fortunately, when she checked the situation of the dormitory, she suddenly received a phone call. The phone call was from the school, and she was ordered to arrange Ching Menjing and Ling Qianyu in the same dormitory. It turned out that Lanqing University felt that it wouldn't be a problem for these two to live together since they both had connections with the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. It was also reasonable for them to live together, so they made such an arrangement. The female tutor finally heaved a sigh of relief. She hurriedly brought Ching Menjing to Ling Qianyu's room, gave her the key, and left after saying a few words. Opening the door, Ching Menjing saw that Ling Qianyu had yet to return from her summer vacation. She put away her luggage, rolled up her sleeves, and began to clean the room. Since no one had lived here for a long time, there was a lot of dust in the room. It took Cheng Menjing a whole hour to clean it up. Looking at the clean windows and table, she was about to take a hot shower when the door of the dormitory was suddenly pushed open. Who are you? Why are you in my dormitory? Ling Qianyu, who was standing at the door, was shocked and asked in surprise. Why would a girl suddenly appear in the room? No one had informed her before. Hello, my name is Cheng Yaoyao. I've just arrived at Lanqing University to report today. Since my department doesn't have an extra female dormitory, I've been arranged to live in the same dormitory as you. Please take care of me. Cheng Menjing smiled and said politely. Ah, I see. Hearing that it was arranged by the school, although Ling Qianyu was still a little unwilling, she didn't show it on her face. Instead, she said enthusiastically, Hello, I thought it was boring to live alone. Now that I have a companion, it's not bad. If you need any help, just ask me. Thank you. I still have many things to trouble Senior Qianyu in the future. Cheng Menjing was originally worried that she would be ignored, but she didn't expect to meet a considerate roommate. She was very happy and her tone became more intimate. From now on, we'll be living under the same roof. If there's any inconvenience, I hope Senior Qianyu can forgive me. Oh. You know my name? Ling Qianyu was a little surprised. Did this Cheng Yaoyao come prepared? The tutor who brought me here just told me. I just found out that you're called Ling Qianyu and you're 1 year older than me. Cheng Menjing nodded with a smile. Ling Qianyu made an oh sound and finally understood. She felt ashamed in her heart. I shouldn't have thought too badly of others. Seeing that Ling Qianyu didn't speak, Cheng Menjing took the initiative to invite her. Senior sister, it's already noon. Why don't we have lunch together? Junior sister will treat you. The reason why the miss was so close to Ling Qianyu was because after talking, she felt that this senior sister had a good temper. Although she was very beautiful, her personality wasn't as weird as other beauties like Yi Xiaoya. She should be a friend worth making, so she wanted to invite her to lunch together. Although her pocket money wasn't as much as before, after being extorted by Xiao Chen, her pocket money was still more than that of an ordinary university student. Moreover, the university cafeteria wasn't that expensive. The two girls couldn't eat much even if they stuffed themselves. After all, they would be staying together in the future. It wasn't a bad thing to build a good relationship in advance. How can that be? Since you called me senior sister, this meal is naturally on me. How can I let you spend money when you just entered the university? Ling Qianyu quickly waved her hand. The grudge in her heart was gradually dispelled. In fact, because Ling Qianyu had always lived alone, she felt very uncomfortable suddenly having another person in the dorm. One had to know that she usually liked to walk around in the room naked. She also had the habit of sleeping naked. Therefore, the arrival of Cheng Menjing made her feel very awkward for a moment. However, Ling Qianyu couldn't refuse. She couldn't use her grandfather's name to force the school to vacate a dorm for her, right? That would be too unreasonable. It was impossible for her to do that. However, what made her feel fortunate was that this Cheng Yaoyao in front of her, although her appearance was relatively ordinary, her attitude was polite. She looked like a well-educated and reasonable person. In the future, they should be able to get along well. She wouldn't have any conflicts with her. Cheng Menjing still wanted to decline. However, the phone on her suddenly rang. She smiled apologetically at Ling Qianyu. She took out her phone and found that it was Xiao Chen who called. She picked it up. Yao Yao, Jia Muzhen and I have settled down. Did you settle the dorm on your side? Xiao Chen asked on the other side of the phone. It has been settled. The school arranged a dorm for me. I live with a senior sister. Cheng Menjing nodded her head and replied. Oh, that's good. Xiao Chen pondered for a moment and continued, how about this, I'll come to find you later. Jia Muzhen just said that he wanted to eat with me. I think it's about time. You should call that senior sister. Let's go together. It's my treat. There was a reason why Xiao Chen said this. Considering Miss Chang's personality, he was afraid that this little girl might cause trouble for her senior sister in the future. So, it was better to build a good relationship with her first. Okay, then you guys come over now. I'll be in the female dorm. I'll go down with senior sister later. Cheng Menjing didn't hesitate and directly agreed. After putting down the phone, she told Ling Qinyu about her boyfriend wanting to treat her. She wanted to ask for her opinion. Ling Qinyu didn't refuse. She felt that since they would often meet in the future, there was no harm in getting to know each other now. The two of them went downstairs after a little tidying up. When they just walked out of the female dorm, they saw Xiao Chen and Jia Muzhen standing not far away and chatting. Cheng Menjing greeted them and walked over with Ling Qinyu. Hello, senior sister. When Xiao Chen first saw Ling Qinyu, he was a little shocked. He didn't think that she was the Miss Roommate. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? But after thinking about it, he understood the school's arrangement. They must have thought that both of them had a relationship with the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, so they put them together. Ling Qinyu nodded and said, Hello. I'm Yao Yao's roommate, Ling Qinyu. Xiao Chen calmed down and extended his hand without batting an eyelid. Nice to meet you. Let me introduce myself. I'm Qing Yao Yao's boyfriend, Xiao Chen. In the future, please take care of our Yao Yao. Xiao Yi. Ling Qinyu repeated the name a few times. She felt that she had seen this guy before, but she couldn't remember where. She generously extended her hand and shook Xiao Chen's hand. Then she smiled and said, You're too polite. Actually, I'm quite happy to live with Yao Yao. Otherwise, it would be boring to live alone in an empty dorm. Regarding Ling Qinyu's temper, Xiao Chen knew it like the back of his hand. Seeing that she actually pretended to be a good girl, he couldn't help but laugh. But in the end, he forcefully held back and didn't laugh out loud. That being said, since Cheng Menjing was living with Ling Qinyu, Xiao Chen was a lot more relieved. At least he knew Ling Qinyu. Although her personality was a bit unreasonable, her character was good and she wasn't a bad person. Hi, senior sister, hello. I'm Xiao Yi's roommate, Jia Muzhen. Please take care of me. Jia Muzhen was a bit nervous and stuttered. He had heard a lot about Ling Qinyu. She was the campus belle of Lanqing University. He didn't expect that he would have the opportunity to see her in person as soon as he entered the university. It was really exciting. Jia Muzhen originally wanted to learn from Xiao Chen and extend his hand to shake the goddess's delicate hand. But after mustering up his courage for a long time, he didn't dare to extend his hand. Hello. Ling Qinyu slightly smiled. She had seen this kind of situation too many times, so she didn't care too much about Jia Muzhen's reaction. Well, since everyone knows each other, let's go eat. Xiao Chen said and then led Jia Muzhen to the direction of the cafeteria. Ling Qinyu and Cheng Menjing followed behind them and chatted about some topics that girls were interested in. Xiao Yi. Jia Muzhen whispered on the side. Huh? What's wrong? Xiao Chen looked at him in confusion. This guy has been secretly turning his head from time to time. Could it be that he fell in love with Ling Qinyu? Chapter 888. What's wrong with you? That Ling Qinyu is a great beauty. How come you don't seem to be moved at all? Could it be that there's something wrong with your physiology? Jia Muzhen didn't really fall in love. He also knew that it was impossible for him to have any relationship with Ling Qinyu. But such a beautiful woman, it was good to see a few more times. F***CKU. If there's something wrong with my physiology, why would I have a girlfriend? It's just because I've seen so many beautiful women that I've already cultivated to the point of immunity. Xiao Chen shook his head disapprovingly. He thought to himself, the beauty in your eyes, even her breasts and buttocks have been seen by me. How could I be as thirsty as you? Hee hee. I've heard that there's a type of gays who cheat marriage. They look normal on the surface, but in fact, they like men in their hearts. Don't tell me you belong to this type of person. Jia Musen didn't believe Xiao Chen's nonsense. He teased him with a funny face. He even deliberately stood a little further away from Xiao Chen as if he was afraid. F***CK, a 24K pure gold 300% straight man like me, how can I cheat marriage? What are you thinking about in your head? Can you say something more nutritious? Xiao Chen laughed and scolded. He found that there was something wrong with Jia Musen's brain circuit, so he didn't bother to talk to him anymore. After walking for a while, they arrived at the cafeteria. Because there were a lot of freshmen who came to report, and because it was mealtime, the first floor of the cafeteria was full. There were no empty seats at all. Xiao Chen thought that since there were 4 of them eating, it was quite cost-effective to order dishes, so he led everyone to the second floor. However, what surprised Xiao Chen was that there were no empty seats on the second floor, and the private rooms here required a minimum of 1,000 yuan. After all, the cafeteria of the university was outsourced, and opening the door was also to make money. Xiao Chen originally wanted to bite the bullet and enter the private room to eat a good meal, but when he called the waiter, he found out that there was only one private room left, and it had been booked. This time, Xiao Chen was a little depressed. People say that a hero is stumped by a penny, but now a hero is stumped by a table. Huh? Wasn't this Qinyu? What a coincidence. We're really fated. Just when everyone was looking at each other, not knowing what to do, someone suddenly ran over from a table in the corner and said happily, "Qinyu, you're here to eat, right? You see, there are no seats left. Why don't you sit at my table? There's an empty seat." Xiao Chen took a closer look. Wasn't that Jing Shiding? Who would have thought that he'd run into Lanqing University's cafeteria twice? What a coincidence. There's no need to trouble yourself. I came here with a few friends. We can just wait a little longer. Ling Qinyu rejected indifferently. The smile on her face had also disappeared. Clearly, she was very unhappy with Jing Shiding's appearance. Oh. Who are they? Jing Shiding turned around in surprise and saw that there were 2 men and a woman standing beside Ling Qinyu. However, they were all unfamiliar faces and he had never seen them before. Jing Shiding couldn't be blamed for not paying attention to them. With Ling Qinyu around, everyone would subconsciously ignore the ordinary people around her. They could only blame Ling Qinyu for being too dazzling. Hello, I'm senior sister Qinyu's roommate, Qing Yaoyao. This is my boyfriend, Xiao Yi, and this is his roommate, Jia Musen. Qing Menjing didn't quite understand the situation. She could only point at Xiao Chen and Jia Musen respectively and introduce them. We've just entered the university, so we're here for a meal. Welcome, welcome. Since we've met, it's a kind of fate. Instead of standing here and starving, why don't I be the host and treat everyone to a meal? Jing Shiding was especially enthusiastic. He looked around and pointed to the other side and said, "Isn't there an empty room over there? Let's go eat there." Without waiting for Qing Menjing and the others to speak, Jing Shiding directly called the waiter over with a forthright expression, "I want that room. Go and bring me one of the best and most expensive dishes, hurry up." The reason why Jing Shiding volunteered to treat them to a meal was mainly to win over Qing Menjing. Although Qing Menjing's appearance wasn't that outstanding, she was Ling Qinyu's roommate. If he could make Qing Menjing happy, she would help him put in a few good words to Ling Qinyu in private. Then, capturing Miss Ling's heart wouldn't be a dream anymore. "I'm sorry, sir. That room has already been reserved. Can you wait a little longer?" The waiter was also very helpless. He didn't expect business to be so good today. All the seats were full. F***CK your grandpa. It's almost past lunchtime, and I don't see anyone coming to this room. Could it be that it was reserved by a ghost? Are you messing with me? When Jing Shiding was stopped by the waiter, he immediately felt a little embarrassed. He originally wanted to show off in front of everyone, but he didn't expect that he would be directly rejected. This made him very embarrassed, so his tone was very unfriendly. The waiter was in a difficult position. In their line of work, they naturally knew that some customers couldn't be offended. For example, Jing Shiding in front of them was the young master of an aristocratic family in Lon City. Normally, they had to treat him like a big boss. However, the person who reserved the room today also had a powerful background. They couldn't afford to offend either side. What this and that? Stop wasting time. Can't you see that my friend is hungry? Hurry up and serve the dishes. Jing Shiding waved his hand and glared at the waiter impatiently. Yo, young Master Zheng is quite arrogant, huh? This room was reserved by this young master. If you have any problems, come at me. Is it very satisfying to vent your anger on the waiter? Just when the waiter was in a dilemma, a gentle male voice suddenly sounded. Zheng Shiding turned his head and saw that it was his archenemy, Shui Gao, walking over. Behind him were two pretty girls. At this moment, Shui Gao was looking at him with a teasing gaze. Zheng Shiding became angry when he saw Shui Gao. Both of them were tyrants in Lon City University. However, because of their different temperaments, they never got along. Originally, they minded their own business, but recently, they had frequent conflicts. The reason was that the Jing family and Shui family behind them were at loggerheads. Originally, the former was in the hotel and import and export trade business, while the latter was in the real estate business. Logically speaking, they shouldn't be related. However, the patriarchs of the two families had their eyes on a piece of land. In order to obtain the right to use that piece of land, the two families fought openly and covertly countless times. However, they were evenly divided, and no one was able to gain any advantage. That piece of land was still lying there. In the end, when the two families saw that there was no way to solve the problem, they could only choose to put the matter aside for now. On the surface, everything was calm, and they were busy with their own business. However, in the dark, both sides were looking for opportunities to destroy the other. I was wondering who was bragging so much. I didn't expect that it was young Master Shui who booked the private room. I didn't expect you to be in such a good mood. It's fine if you play with prostitutes outside the university, but you actually brought them to the university's cafeteria to eat. Should I say, is it better for you to sully the campus, or is it better for you to perform as an art? Zheng Shiding snorted lightly and said in a sarcastic tone. Shui Gao, who appeared to be gentle, virtuous, thrifty, elegant, and charming, was actually doing dirty things behind the scenes. Others might not know about it, but Zheng Shiding was very clear about it. Looking at the two girls behind Shui Gao, one of them was wearing very revealing clothes, and although the other looked relatively pure, he reckoned that she wasn't any better. According to Shui Gao's playful nature, Zheng Shiding concluded that the two girls behind him were prostitutes. However, he was puzzled as to why Shui Gao would bring them to the cafeteria to eat. Wasn't this a disgrace? However, these two girls were quite good-looking. He didn't know where Shui Gao found these two high-quality goods. Could it be that he wanted to bring them out to show off? Xiao Chen originally stood at the side silently, but when he saw the two girls behind Shui Gao, he realized that they were actually Su Chuxia and Tian Souring. Then, when he heard Zheng Shiding ridiculing them, he immediately felt a little unhappy. Hey! What did you say? Before Xiao Chen could react, Tian Souring couldn't hold it in anymore. She pointed at Zheng Shiding and scolded, "You bastard, how dare you insult Sister Souring? You're the prostitute. No, you're the duck, your whole family are ducks." Tian Souring was about to explode. Originally, she only wanted to eat with Su Chuxia, but the cafeteria was full. The two of them could only stand at the entrance and wait for seats. In the end, they were caught by Shui Gao. This guy coaxed and pestered them, wanting to treat them to a meal. He patted his chest and guaranteed that he had already booked a private room. Tian Souring didn't know what was wrong with her. She actually wanted to set him up so that he would back off. After much effort, she finally persuaded Su Chuxia to go upstairs, but she didn't expect to be humiliated by this random guy. She was so unlucky. B*TCH. I think you're looking for death. Zheng Shiding had never been humiliated like this before. He was instantly infuriated. He rushed over and raised his hand to slap Tian Souring. Some time ago, under the guidance of Shi Yuchuan, Zheng Shiding had been promoted to a stage 4 inner force warrior. He thought it would be a piece of cake to teach a weak girl a lesson. However, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him and directly blocked his raised palm. Young Master Zheng, I realize that you're quite capable. You actually hit a woman. You're quite skilled. Shui Gao narrowed his eyes and sneered. He shook off Zheng Shiding's hand and turned to Ling Qinyu with a faint smile. Qinyu, I advise you to stay away from young Master Zheng. His character is so bad that he might hit you one day. It doesn't matter if you're pretty or not. Xiaochen took another step back. When he saw that Zheng Shiding was about to hit Tian Souring, he subconsciously wanted to rush out. However, just as he moved, he saw Shui Gao blocking his way. Only then did Xiaochen stop. Chapter 889. Luckily, his movements were small, and everyone's attention was on Zheng Shiding and Tian Souring, so no one noticed him. You, don't slander me. Zheng Shiding's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly explained to Ling Qinyu, Qinyu, don't listen to that Shui guy's nonsense. I will definitely treat you well in the future, and I won't use violence. Don't worry. If you don't believe me, I can swear. Zheng Shiding, who was busy explaining, was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. He cursed in his heart, that damn B*TCH must have colluded with Shui Gao. She purposely provoked me to hit him, and wanted me to embarrass myself in front of Ling Qinyu. I must find someone to teach that B*TCH a lesson. Zheng Shiding didn't think that if he hadn't mocked her as a prostitute, Tian Souring wouldn't have retorted. In his eyes, it was all her fault. Zheng Shiding, what nonsense are you talking about? I have nothing to do with you. I just want to have a meal with my classmates, can you not cause trouble? Ling Qinyu frowned, and her face was very unfriendly. She hated Zheng Shiding to death. This guy dared to spout nonsense in front of everyone in the cafeteria. If anyone really took it seriously and spread it, there would be trouble. Yes. Let's eat first. Zheng Shiding thought he had caught Ling Qinyu's main point, which was to hint that he shouldn't quarrel in public. He quickly wiped the beads of sweat off his forehead, and shouted to the waiter, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and open up the private room, and ask the chef to make some dishes. Don't dawdle, hurry up. Can't you see that we are all hungry? The waiter, who was standing dumbly at the side, suddenly came to his senses. He didn't dare to delay, and nodded repeatedly. He was just an employee, and he couldn't afford to offend anyone. He could only do as Zheng Shiding said, and turned around to leave. Wait. Shui Gao blocked the waiter's path, and said with a sullen face, what do you mean? I paid $1,000 as a deposit for this private room, how dare you transfer it to him without permission? Did you ask for my permission? Do you believe that I won't lodge a complaint against you? Damn it. Stop pretending to be a big-tailed wolf. Isn't it just 1,000 yuan? Zheng Shiding took out a stack of cash from his pocket and handed it to the waiter. He said casually, take it. Here's $5,000. Return that kid's deposit to him and pay him another $1,000 as compensation for his brain damage. The rest of it will be food money. As Zheng Shiding spoke, he pointed at Shui Gao with his chin and snorted contemptuously. Do you think I'm a beggar? I'll pay 10,000. This private room belongs to me. You have 1 minute to leave. At this moment, Shui Gao no longer cared about his image as an ice cream senior. He gnashed his teeth and roared. Would he be afraid of competing in terms of wealth? He and Zheng Shiding were both direct descendants of a large family in Lan City. Their families were strong and powerful, so they could spend as much money as they wanted. Most importantly, Shui Gao was also a stage 4 inner force martial artist. I'll pay 20,000. I'll pay 30,000. The two of them argued until their faces turned red. As the onlookers, Xiao Chen and the others stared at the two of them as if they were idiots. They must have not taken their medicine before going out. Ling Qianyu and Qing Menjing looked at each other and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. Then, they smiled at the same time. The two of them seemed to have become closer because of their common hatred for a common enemy. Su Chuxia lowered her head as if she wanted to stare at the floor of the cafeteria. On the other hand, Tian Suruan was looking around in boredom. She wanted to see if there were any good-looking guys in Lan City University's cafeteria. But she was sure that Xiao Qiangshui wasn't there, so she decided to forget about it. When her gaze landed on Jia Muzan's face, she couldn't help but be stunned. Jia Muzan felt Tian Suruan's gaze and looked over as well. Their eyes met. For some reason, Tian Suruan suddenly hid behind Su Chuxia and hid her face. Seeing that Tian Suruan wasn't looking at him anymore, Jia Muzan also retracted his gaze. However, he felt a little strange. That sexy beauty just now seemed rather familiar. Where had he seen her before? However, Jia Muzan quickly shook his head and denied his own thoughts. He had just arrived at Lan City University, so how could he have seen her before? Perhaps there was a certain tanned female star who looked very similar to Tian Suruan in the Japanese action movies he watched in the past. That was why he felt a sense of déjà vu. I say, young masters, we're still hungry. How about this, let's eat together. Anyway, the private room is big enough for so many people to sit in. Why don't we just use the money to eat? Zheng Shiding and Shui Gao were still raising the price. Xiao Chen couldn't stand it anymore and spoke up to stop them. The two of them finally stopped bidding. They felt that Xiao Chen's words made sense when they thought about it. After all, they were both descendants of aristocratic families with deep pockets. Who was short of money? If they continued bidding like this, it would be pointless even if the sky turned dark. Moreover, the purpose of the two of them bidding was to treat their goddess to a meal. At this moment, they finally realized that Ling Qianyu, Su Chuxia, and Tian Suruan all had ugly expressions on their faces. They seemed to be on the verge of exploding. What was the point of bidding then? Hurry up and eat. Making their goddess happy was the most important thing at hand. All right. For the sake of junior brother, this young master won't argue with you today. Zheng Shiding waved his hand and walked directly toward Ling Qianyu. He politely invited her and Qing Menjing into the private room. Ling Qianyu couldn't be bothered to say anything more. Since Xiao Chen had come to mediate, she and Qing Menjing didn't object. They walked toward the direction of the private room. Jia Muzan secretly gave Xiao Chen a thumbs up and followed. Shui Gao snorted coldly. This private room originally belonged to this young master. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll allocate some seats to you. After he finished speaking, he quickly beckoned Su Chuxia and Tian Suruan into the private room. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to get a good seat if he was late. Su Chuxia originally wanted to reject him, but considering that there was really no other place to eat, she had no choice but to accept Shui Gao's invitation. However, the waitress was a little depressed. When Zheng Shiding and Shui Gao were bidding against each other, she was still hoping to earn more money. Originally, if the price was really raised, she would have gotten a lot of commission. In the end, she didn't even get a single cent. If she had known earlier, she would have agreed to Zheng Shi's 5,000 yuan. Waitress, come over here. I'll order. Xiao Chen stood at the door of the private room and called out to the waitress. The waitress came back to her senses and hurried over. She didn't have the life to become rich, so it was better for her to be a waitress. After everyone sat down in the private room, Xiao Chen walked in after ordering the dishes. He casually stood in front of the table and said, I've already ordered the dishes. The two young masters were very generous just now, but in order to show your sincerity and generosity, please take out all the cash you have on you. Otherwise, if you don't have money and want to act shamelessly after the meal, everyone will look down on you. Of course. Shui Gao and Zheng Shiding hurriedly nodded. How could they dare to say that they weren't sincere and generous? Moreover, when it was time to pay the bill, the two of them might fight again. It was better to put the money together now. The two of them dug into their pockets, and not only did they put all their money on the table, but they also asked the men behind them to take out their spare cash. Not long after, the table was filled with a thick stack of cash. Oh, it seems like the two young masters are very generous. Not bad, not bad. In order to prevent the two of you from going back on your words and withdrawing your investment, I'll take care of the money first. After dinner, I'll pay the bill. The students here can be the notary, is that okay? Xiao Chen's hands were very fast. Without waiting for the two of them to agree, he said as he put all the money on the table into his own pocket. Of course. Of course. Shui Gao and Jing Shiding were too embarrassed to object. Since they had already taken out the money, why would they care about who they put it in? Moreover, their goddesses were watching from the side. They definitely couldn't act too cowardly. Otherwise, how could they raise their heads in front of their goddesses in the future? The corner of Xiao Chen's mouth rose slightly. In his heart, he despised Shui Gao and Jing Shiding. These two idiots really want to save face and suffer. It seems like when I don't have money in the future, I can find another opportunity to cheat them. Not long after he put the money away, the waiters served the dishes one after another. After standing for so long, everyone was so hungry that their chests were sticking to their backs. No longer polite, they raised their chopsticks and attacked the dishes in front of them. Among them, Xiao Chen and Tian Suruan ate the most. They completely disregarded their table manners and gobbled down the food like hungry tigers. Junior Chuxia, after lunch, I'll show you around the campus, okay? Since you're new here, I'm sure you're not familiar with the environment of Lanqing University. I happen to have some time, so I'll be your tour guide. Shui Gao put on a gentlemanly smile and volunteered to Su Chuxia. Based on Shui Gao's judgment of girls, he felt that Su Chuxia was definitely not a gold digger. It was impossible to win a girl's heart with money. The only way to win her heart was to take it one step at a time and create an image of a gentle and considerate senior. As for Tian Suruan, it might be easier. All he had to do was treat her to a few good meals and buy her some luxurious items. Therefore, Shui Gao pondered for a while and decided to start with the harder one. This. Just as Su Chuxia was considering how to decline, Tian Suruan suddenly spoke up. Chuxia, Sister Suruan wants to eat that braised beef. Can you help me turn the dish over? Suruan, eat slowly. No one's fighting with you over it. Su Chuxia took the opportunity to change the topic. She glanced at Tian Suruan and reached out to turn the glass dish on the table. Su Chuxia watched as Tian Suruan nibbled on a fried chicken drumstick with her left hand and stuffed a piece of beef into her mouth with her right hand. She looked as if she hadn't eaten for days. Su Chuxia couldn't help but find it funny and annoying at the same time. Chapter 890. Why isn't anyone fighting with me? Look at that damn otaku across from me. He's eating even harder than I am. He's almost finished that plate of beef. If I don't turn around, I won't be able to eat anymore. Tian Souring pointed at Xiao Chen and said angrily, Hey! Who are you? Are you a pig? I haven't even eaten that plate of braised pork ribs. You're here to freeload yet you're so shameless. Sister Souring really has to give it to you. Oh, you're here to freeload too, right? How dare you talk to me like that? Xiao Chen's mouth was stuffed with food as he retorted in a muffled voice. He then grabbed a piece of braised pork ribs and started gnawing on it. He then pushed the plate and spun another plate of double-cooked pork in front of him. He picked up his chopsticks and started eating. You're pissing me off. You brat, how dare you snatch the food that Sister Souring wants to eat? Tian Sour was so angry that he spun the wheel with all his might. In the end, he heard a bang, and the big bowl of hot and sour soup on the table was knocked over. It landed directly between Jing Shiding's thighs. Ouch! Caught off guard, Jing Shiding had no time to dodge. His lower body was almost cooked by the boiling hot soup, but he was too embarrassed to touch it with his hands. He could only stand up and wriggle unnaturally as he wailed in pain. Water. Quick, give me water. Hearing Jing Shiding's pained cries, Xiao Qin, who was closest to him, put down the food in his hands. He picked up a pot of boiling water from the corner and rushed over. He then opened the lid and splashed the water all over Jing Shiding's lower body. Ah! Jing Shiding had already shaken off the soup on his pants. In the end, he was scalded by the boiling water and screamed in pain. He fell to the ground, clutching his lower body. His face was pale and twisted as he hissed and gasped. Brat! How dare you splash young Master Zheng with boiling water? Are you looking for death? On the other side, the monkey-like follower was shocked. He quickly ran over to help Jing Shiding up and scolded Xiao Qin loudly. He said he wanted water. There was only a pot of water nearby, and I didn't know if it was boiling or cold water. The situation was so urgent, how could you blame me? Xiao Qin shrugged and said innocently. Never mind, never mind. Little brother Xiao did not do it on purpose. It's my fault for not being clear. Zheng Shiding said through gritted teeth. He was glad that he was a stage 4 inner force martial artist. Otherwise, his little brother would have been crippled. After being helped up by the pointy-mouthed, monkey-like underling, Zheng Shiding saw that his clothes were a complete mess and that a certain part of his body was still aching. It seemed that he would not be able to finish the meal, but he did not want to give up the opportunity to eat with his goddess, Ling Qinyu. He could only force a smile and said, You guys eat first, I'll go back and change my clothes before coming back. Although Shuigao was ignored by Su Chuxia, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. When he came in just now, he wanted to switch places with Zheng Shiding so that he could chat with Su Chuxia up close. Fortunately, he didn't do that. Otherwise, he would be the one in trouble. Ding dong. Ding dong. Looking at Zheng Shiding's back as he left the private room, Shuigao thought about asking Su Chuxia out again. However, before he could say anything, he suddenly heard the announcement from the school's broadcasting station. Dear students, we are now broadcasting an announcement. We are sorry to learn that our student Lu Renmao passed away early this morning due to a terminal illness. Although Lu Renmao knew that he was ill, he continued to study in the hospital. He is our role model for learning and our thirst for knowledge. In order to let everyone learn from Lu Renmao's spirit, the school has decided to organize a memorial ceremony. All students, please wear your school uniform, gather at the school gate at 2 p.m. sharp, and take a bus to the funeral home. If there are any special circumstances, please apply for leave from your tutor. Those who do not show up for no special reason will have 10 credits deducted. All class leaders, please inform each other. Again, after hearing the announcement, Shuigao was puzzled. Although the school would organize some activities every year that required group participation, it had never been so strict. This time, those who did not go would have their credits deducted. Wasn't they trying to kill themselves? As a hedonistic son of a rich family, Shuigao spent most of his time playing around and picking up girls. He rarely studied, so he did not have many credits. He only got his credits by asking people to make cheat sheets during exams. In order to maintain his image as senior Shuigao, he naturally would not violate the school's rules. Although he did not want to go, he was the class leader, so he had to go. Why is it so troublesome? Shuigao raised his wrist to look at his watch. It was already 1:30. He could only helplessly say, Chuxia, sour, I'm really sorry about today. I'm the class leader, and I have to organize activities for the students. I'll treat you guys to a meal another day. After saying that, Shuigao stood up and ran out without looking back. Anyway, all his money was with Xiao Qin, so paying the bill was none of his business. Since everyone is done eating, I'll go out and settle the bill. It'll be troublesome if I can't make it in time for the school activities. Seeing that it was almost time, Xiao Qin left the private room with the money and went to the counter to pay the bill. Chuxia, wait for me at the entrance of the cafeteria. I'll be right back after I use the restroom. Tian Sour rolled her eyes and stood up. Without waiting for Su Chuxia's reply, she ran out behind Xiaochen. Yao Yao, I'm going back to the dormitory to change as well. You guys are freshmen, so you don't need to wear school uniforms. Let's meet outside the school gates. Ling Qinyu also needed to change, so she left first. Although the meal was not very enjoyable, Ling Qinyu did not mind. After all, she was going to be Cheng Yao Yao's roommate in the future. If she wanted to eat, there would be plenty of opportunities. The remaining 3 people in the private room looked at each other and smiled helplessly at the same time. They did not say much and simply exchanged a few words before leaving. Student, after the discount, the total cost is 2,000 yuan. This is the bill, please check it. The waiter handed over a bill and placed it in front of Xiaochen. Oh, there's no need to check it. There's no problem with the bill. Xiaochen waved his hand nonchalantly. He ordered 2,000 yuan and passed it to the waiter. Just as he was counting the rest of the money, he felt someone pat his shoulder. He turned around and saw that it was Tian Sauer. Hey! This money should be at least half of Sister Sauer's, right? Tian Sauer stared at the thick stack of money in Xiaochen's hand. Her eyes were almost shining. Why should I give it to you? Xiaochen found it funny, but he asked seriously on the surface. He even showed a trace of doubt at the right time. Sister Sauer was scolded. If it wasn't for Sister Sauer, you wouldn't have been able to get so much money, right? Be sensible. I don't think you're stupid. You should know the rules, right? Tian Sauer said casually. Oh, then I'll give you 1/10. Xiaochen said half-jokingly. After all, Tian Sauer was not an outsider. In the past, he would have given all the money to her. However, he was in need of money now, so he could not be so generous. No way. Tian Sauer shook her head and rejected. Sister Sauer sacrificed so much. You should at least give me half to comfort my broken heart. Since you sound so pitiful, then I'll give you 1/3. No more than that, Xiaochen said with a smile. Then we'll both take a step back and give Sister Sauer 2/5. No less than that, or Sister Sauer won't let you off. Seeing that Xiaochen would not budge no matter what and his tone was firm, Tian Sauer could only make what she thought was the biggest concession. All right. You're really a miser. Xiaochen smiled and shook his head. He counted the money and passed it to Tian Sauer. What did you say? Tian Sauer only cared about the money and did not listen carefully. She thought that Xiaochen was teasing her. Nothing. I said you're pretty, okay? Xiaochen said helplessly. This Tian Sauer only knew how to stare at money. She was about to dig her way into the money. Don't think Sister Sauer doesn't know that you want to pursue me, right? Let Big Sister Sauer tell you, don't mention that you already have a girlfriend. Big Sister Sauer also has a boyfriend. If you dare to be so cocky, I'll let him punch you to death, do you believe me? Tian Sauer glared and waved her little fist. Oh, that's amazing. I believe you. Xiaochen shrugged and muttered in his heart, am I crazy? Kill me with a punch. At least you know what's good for you. Seeing that you're willing to pay, Sister Sauer will let you see an enchanting back. When you go back, imagine your girlfriend to look like Sister Sauer and make love to her. What a waste. Tian Sauer kept the money and waved her hand. She swayed her hips and walked down the stairs. Her figure was as attractive as ever. The boys around her almost had a nosebleed. However, Xiaochen thought, Missy isn't any worse than you. It's just that her figure isn't as good as yours. If I were to do that with her, I wouldn't have imagined her to look like you, right? Young Master Zheng, do you have any extra uniforms? I don't think I can find mine. After sending Zheng Shiding to the parking lot, the monkey-like underling remembered the broadcast and asked weakly. Like hell I do. Who would have more of those ugly clothes? Think of a way yourself. I need to get a custom-made set quickly. Zheng Shiding said impatiently. He left the underling beside him and drove off in his sports car. A custom-made set? Where would we find the time to make a custom-made set? Can't we just borrow a set from someone else? I don't know what young Master Zhang is thinking. The underling shook his head in confusion. However, he did not dare to ask further and hurried to borrow the uniform. Xiao Chen and Xing Menjing walked out of the cafeteria and went straight to the school gate to gather. They were still freshmen and did not have uniforms. The school naturally would not force them to do so. Ling Qinyu returned to the dormitory and changed into her uniform before rushing to the school gate to meet up with Xiao Chen and the others. They got on the school bus and went to the nearby funeral parlor. Lanqing University's female uniform is quite nice. I thought it would be as old-fashioned as our Songning Second High School's uniform. I didn't expect it to be a fashionable sailor uniform. This is the first time I'm looking forward to wearing a school uniform, Xing Menjing said enviously as she looked at Ling Qinyu's sailor uniform. Chapter 891. She had never worn a sailor suit in her entire life. In the past, she heard that only schools in Japan had this kind of clothing, but she didn't expect Lanqing University to have it too. Yeah. Xiao Chen looked at Ling Qinyu's fair thighs and couldn't help but let his imagination run wild as he answered absent-mindedly. Although he had already seen her body, he didn't expect this little girl to have a different flavor in a sailor suit. It was especially tempting. What are you thinking about? You're almost drooling. You look like a pig, so disgusting. Xing Menjing said with a face full of disdain. She muttered in her heart, I don't see Xiao Chen staring at me like this when I usually wear a short skirt. I really don't know what's going on in his head. Stinky pervert. Cough cough. Everyone loves beauty. How can it be called disgusting? This is called appreciation. Xiao Chen subconsciously swallowed his saliva and weakly defended himself. Humph. Stop it. I think you're just being cheap. You must have feelings for senior sister Ling Qinyu. Otherwise, why would you sit in the same school bus as her? Xing Menjing snorted and said in a low voice. Didn't I follow you up? Xiao Chen said with an innocent face. However, he still withdrew his gaze and stopped staring at Ling Qinyu. Otherwise, the miss would definitely explode. TSK. Only a ghost would believe you. Xing Menjing gave Xiao Chen a big eye roll and turned her head to look at the scenery outside the bus. She couldn't be bothered to bicker with Xiao Chen anymore. Half an hour later, a group of school buses stopped outside the funeral parlor. Students from different majors were looking for their majors' counselors to sign in. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen and the others directly signed in the freshmen's books. Anyway, as freshmen who had just entered the school, it didn't matter if they came or not. No one would purposely check on them. Huh? Are Shui Gao and Jing Shiding from the XX major here? Basically all the students had their names taken. One of the counselors with the surname Zhao took a few steps forward and shouted, Are Shui Gao and Jing Shiding here? If you don't come, your points will be deducted. After shouting for a while, Counselor Zhao still didn't see the two appear. He shook his head and was about to write down their names when he heard a loud engine sound coming from afar. Everyone looked up in surprise when they heard the sound. On the road not far away, a red Ferrari sports car and a black Lamborghini sports car were driving over at lightning speed. The two cars seemed to be competing with each other as they advanced side by side. Then, with a beautiful drift, they stopped steadily in front of the funeral home. The car doors opened at the same time, and Shui Gao and Jing Shiding jumped out of the two cars. Their movements were synchronized, and they both took something out of the car and quickly ran towards Counselor Zhao. Wait. Counselor Zhao, please be lenient. I only went to prepare the clothes. I was not absent. Please don't give me a demerit. Shui Gao ran until he was out of breath. He was so tired that he looked like a grandson. His skin, which was originally like ice cream, was now as white as paper. I'm not absent either. Please be merciful. Jing Shiding was also in a hurry. He ran to Counselor Zhao and panted heavily. Shui Gao. Zheng Shiding. Are the two of you deaf? Didn't you hear what the radio said? Counselor Zhao looked at the two of them, and his eyes were about to bleed. He shouted at the top of his lungs. I heard it. Didn't they ask us to wear morning clothes to show our respect to our classmates? If it wasn't for the custom-made clothes, why didn't I catch the bus? Shui Gao replied with some confusion. Then, he subconsciously glanced around and was stunned on the spot. They asked you to wear the school's uniform. Who asked you to wear morning clothes? Look at you guys, you even made a banner. Don't you think it's embarrassing enough? Counselor Zhao was so angry that he almost fainted when he saw the banner on the two's shoulders. He clenched his teeth and said word by word. Didn't the radio say to wear morning clothes? This. Zheng Shiding also realized that something was wrong. The other students around him were wearing the school's standard uniform. Only he and Shui Gao were different. They wore morning clothes and wore morning clothes. Their bodies were covered in white cloth, and they even had two banners made for them. Oh my God. Are these two guys' heads pierced? Do they think they have to wear morning clothes at the funeral parlor? That's right. I think they're stupid. They can be considered the two weirdos of Lon City University. Oh my God, are they here to mess things up? Can they mess around like this just because their families are rich? They're too disrespectful. I'm going to take photos and post them on campus, WeChat Moments, and Weibo. I'm going to expose these two idiots' shameful acts. The surrounding students were a little angry. They took out their phones to take photos of the two and kept criticizing their behavior. It was supposed to be a good farewell ceremony, but these two actually made such a mess. Wasn't this not letting people leave with peace of mind? Counselor Zhao was so angry that his face turned purple. He pointed at the two and scolded while trembling, "Go back and call your fathers over. I'd like to ask them how they managed to raise sons like you. This is a disgrace to the culture. They must have gone crazy from wanting to be famous. They actually did something like this. Don't they know what kind of environment they're in? What two idiots." Someone in the crowd suddenly shouted, making the others even angrier. How could Shui Gao and Zheng Shiding not understand that they heard wrongly? The two were very embarrassed. They wished there was a hole in the ground to hide in. They stood there not knowing what to do. Although there were spare clothes in the car, they were surrounded by angry students and couldn't get out at all. Damn it. They're really too much. They're simply smearing the face of us Lon City University students. If we don't beat them up, we'll be letting down student Lu who passed away. Someone in the crowd shouted. Following that, two whooshing sounds were heard. Two bricks flew over and accurately hit the heads of the two filial sons. Shui Gao and Zheng Shiding howled in pain and held their heads. They were both martial artists, but they couldn't understand how their heads could be smashed by bricks. Blood flowed out uncontrollably. Right. We must beat them up. Everyone, let's go. The eyes of a few male students in the front row turned red. They waved their fists and took the lead to rush over. The rest of the students were also in high spirits. They swarmed over and started punching and kicking the two. Don't hit me. Ouch. Shui Gao could only feel the overwhelming number of punches and kicks coming at him. He could only cover his face with his hands and roll on the ground. Spare me. I was wrong. Ouch. Zheng Shiding still wanted to escape. However, the moment he lifted one of his legs, he was instantly knocked down. His begging voice was quickly drowned in the crowd. The few teachers present didn't react at first. Later, they realized that the situation wasn't good. They quickly rushed into the crowd to maintain order. If Shui Gao and Zheng Shiding were beaten up, the school wouldn't be able to escape responsibility. In fact, the ones who were really beating people up were the ones who took the lead. The rest of them were just stabbing and kicking occasionally. Therefore, the chaos at the scene was quickly brought under control. A few teachers pulled Shui Gao and Jing Shiding out of the crowd and covered them as they left. These students are too cruel. How can they hit people? They even hit them with bricks. What if they accidentally killed them? Cheng Menjing, who was standing in the distance, frowned and said with lingering fear. She had always disliked this kind of violent behavior. Therefore, she didn't go near them. They are clearly disrespecting the dead. If they are beaten to death, they should be directly sent to the funeral parlor. Anyway, they are at the entrance. It will be easy to carry them in. The corner of Xiao Chen's mouth curled up. He smiled coldly and said, "Huh. That's not right. I seem to have seen the 2 bricks fly in from outside the crowd. Could it be?" Cheng Menjing held her chin and thought for a while. She suddenly raised her head and stared at Xiao Chen. "You were the one who did it, right? I seem to have sensed a trace of essence energy coming from your body. Were you the one who threw those bricks?" No matter what, Cheng Menjing was also a cultivator. Her 6 senses were quite strong. She didn't pay attention to it before, but now that she thought about it, she could naturally feel that something was wrong. "Oh, it seems that you have made a lot of progress. You even know how to use your divine sense to explore the surroundings. You are indeed a good disciple that I have taught." Xiao Chen nodded seriously. He seemed to be very satisfied with Cheng Menjing's performance. "Go to hell. I am not your disciple. I am a self-taught genius cultivator. No, I am an invincible super genius cultivator in the universe," Cheng Menjing said with a proud face. "Well, you are a genius." Looking at the other students who had calmed down and began to line up one after another, walking into the funeral parlor to pay their respects, Xiao Chen said, "Miss, let's go in too." Cheng Menjing didn't object. She had just been praised by Xiao Chen and was in a very good mood. She had already forgotten her previous suspicions and obediently followed him to line up at the back of the line. The entire funeral ceremony lasted for several hours before it ended. The school still sent the students back to Lon City University by bus. By the time they arrived at the school, it was already dinner time. Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing were tired after running around for the whole day. The 2 of them went to the cafeteria to eat something before returning to their respective dormitories. As soon as Xiao Chen entered the door, he saw Jia Muzin sitting on the bed. In his hand was an ancient martial arts manual, and he was reading it with great interest. Xiao Chen casually greeted him. He felt that he was unbearably tired from the past few days. He couldn't be bothered to look at the manual in detail. He directly went to his bed and fell asleep. Dong, dong, dong. Not long after he lay down, Xiao Chen was awakened by a series of knocks on the door. He was very puzzled. Who would come to visit so late at night? It couldn't be Miss Cheng, right? Jia Muzin put down the book. Perhaps he was afraid of disturbing Xiao Chen's sleep, so he quickly ran over and opened the door. However, when he saw the person standing outside the door, he was stunned. It was actually Tian Suruan. Why is she here? Chapter 892. Ever since she saw Jia Muzin in the cafeteria at noon, Tian Suruan had been worried sick. She was also absent-minded during the memorial service in the afternoon. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that he might have recognized her. In fact, Tian Suruan had a secret in her heart. She had only mentioned it to Su Chuxia, and no one else knew about it. Originally, she had planned to talk to Xiao Chang about it, but in order to prevent Xiao Chang from being implicated, she decided to keep it a secret. From high school to university, as time passed, Tian Suruan felt more and more that her good days were numbered. She thought that she could spend her beautiful university days with Su Chuxia, but she didn't expect to bump into Jia Muzin right after entering university. This made her even more suspicious. After thinking about it for a long time, Tian Suruan finally couldn't suppress the doubts in her heart. She decided that she had to find out the truth. Otherwise, it would be too uncomfortable to keep it to herself. So, at night, she found out Jia Muzin's dormitory and secretly came to his door. Hello, who are you looking for? After staring at Tian Suruan for a long time, Jia Muzin finally managed to speak. At this time, his heart was surging. He didn't expect that the sexy beauty who had lunch with him in the cafeteria would come to his door. Could it be that I got lucky with the ladies? No way. How could a beautiful woman like me, who has such a loser's appearance? She must be looking for Xiao Yi, but Xiao Yi has a girlfriend. He introduced her at noon, so she should know. Could it be that she wants to be a mistress? But Xiao Yi isn't that good looking. Sister Suruan has something to ask you. Don't be shy like a girl. Let's go in first. Jia Muzin was still standing there, daydreaming, when Tian Suruan had already pushed open the door and swaggered in. Jia Muzin came back to his senses and quickly followed behind her. He thought to himself, so she has something to ask me? What is it? Could it be that she wants to ask me if I can be her boyfriend? Oh. Isn't this miser Suruan? What business do you have in my dormitory? Although Xiao Qin was in the room, he could clearly hear the conversation outside the door. Originally, he subconsciously thought that he had been recognized by Tian's souring and was thinking about how to explain it. He did not expect that this chick was actually looking for Jia Muzin. Why are you here? Tian Shosho frowned slightly. After thinking for a while, he suddenly realized, oh right. Sourly Sour Sis finally remembered. You're roommates with this four-eyed guy. Look at you, you already have a girlfriend, why are you still living with a guy? Could it be that you're gay? Why are you asking so many questions? Are you alright? If there's nothing else, hurry back. Don't disturb my sleep in the middle of the night. Xiao Qin retorted snappily. However, he was a little puzzled. What was Tian Sour up to? It didn't seem like she had seen through him. Could it be that she really had something to talk to him about? Sleep your head. Tian Tang snorted and glared at Xiao Qin. You're not allowed to sleep. Sourly Sour Sis has something to ask that four-eyed guy. Go out and hide for a while. Go find your girlfriend and have a go or something. In short, don't be a hindrance here, do you hear me? What the heck, this is my dormitory. It's fine if you want me to go out and say something nice to me, but you're being so rude. Do you believe that I won't reject you? Xiao Qin pretended to be angry. He did not really want to argue with Tian Shosho. He just wanted to tease her. He wanted to know why she was looking for Jia Muzin. Didn't the two of them just meet today? Could it be that Tian Shosho has fallen in love with someone else? Although the two of them were faking it, Xiao Qin still felt a little uncomfortable when he thought about it. That was why he asked so forcefully. You're not leaving? Do you think that if I shouted molest, would people come and surround me? This is the male dormitory. Tian Shosho did not care about Xiao Qin's anger. She purposely unbuttoned her collar and took 2 steps forward to threaten him. You win, let's wait and see. Looking at Tian Shosho's ferocious expression, Xiao Qin was speechless. He pretended to speak fiercely and walked out of the dormitory, not forgetting to close the door behind him. Hearing Xiao Qin's footsteps getting further and further away, Tian Shosho finally buttoned up her collar in satisfaction. She then stared at Jia Muzin with a serious expression. Pretty lady, why are you looking for me? What do you want to ask me? I don't think we've met before. Jia Muzin initially thought that he had a romantic encounter, but Tian Shosho's dangerous gaze made his hair stand on end. When had he ever encountered something like this before? He waited for a long time, but the other party did not speak. He could only break the silence and ask cautiously. Four-eyed guy, do you know me? Don't try to lie. Sister Sourly Sour isn't that easy to fool. Tian Shosho took a deep breath and asked unhurriedly. Her eyes were fixed on Jia Muzin's face. Jia Muzin was immediately dumbfounded. After being stunned for a long time, he hesitantly asked, that? I still don't quite understand. What do you mean? Can you explain it more clearly? F***ck me, why are you so stupid? Sister Sourly Sour just wants to know if you've seen me before. Don't you understand? Did you get into a university? Don't tell me you bought the letter of acceptance. Tian Shosho explained once more, speechless. Of course I don't know you. I've only been reporting to Lawn City University for a few days. Moreover, I've never lived in Lawn City before. Today is the first time I've seen you. How could we have met before? Jia Musen explained with a blank expression. He was indeed very puzzled. He did not understand why Tian Shosho would ask such a question. Then why did you stare at Sister Sourly Sour so lecherously this afternoon at the canteen? Could it be that you have some ulterior motives towards Sister Sourly Sour? Although Jia Musen did not seem to be lying, Tian Shosho was still a little worried. She persisted in her questioning. At that time, I only felt that you looked a little familiar. However, after thinking about it for a while, I don't have any impression of you. Could it be that we've really met before? Jia Musen pushed up his spectacles and pondered for a while. However, he still could not recall anything and could only say so. He could not possibly say that he thought Tian Shosho looked like Avril, right? Although the sexy beauty in front of him looked a little familiar and seemed to have an impression in his mind, judging from her accent, she should be a standard Lawn City citizen. Jia Musen's first impression was that he should not know her. Oh, no, Sister Sourly Sour is just here to warn you. Don't even think about pursuing Sister Sourly Sour. I already have a boyfriend. Not only is he tall and handsome, he's also highly skilled in martial arts. He can kill you with a single punch. Tian Shosho was instantly reassured when she heard Jia Musen's words and said proudly. However, when she recalled Xiao Chang, she also faintly felt a little regretful. Sigh. Sister Sourly Sour's boyfriend. Don't you know how much Sister Sourly Sour misses you? If you still don't show up, Sister Sourly Sour might not be able to see you anymore. I don't have such thoughts, really. Jia Musen felt depressed when he was warned instead of having a romantic encounter. He had no choice but to reply helplessly with a sullen expression. Oh, then it's fine. Go find a girlfriend. Masturbating all day isn't good for your body, and it also affects your eyesight. That's it, you useless 4 eyes. Tian Shosho's matter was settled and she couldn't be bothered to stay any longer. She waved her hand and turned to leave the dormitory. Xiao Chen actually didn't go far. He was leaning against the door and waiting. He happened to hear the conversation between the two clearly. When he heard Tian Shosho bid farewell to Jia Musen and was about to leave, he hurriedly ran to the stairs and pretended to have just returned. You're done so quickly. I didn't expect you to be such a quick shooter. I really feel sorry for your girlfriend. After opening the door and taking 2 steps, Tian Shosho saw Xiao Chen walking over and couldn't help but pout. On the surface, Xiao Chen couldn't be bothered with her. However, he smiled bitterly and shook his head in his heart. This Tian Shosho was still the same as before. She was always so neurotic. When others took a few more glances at her, she would think that the person liked her. She really felt good about herself. However, Xiao Chen didn't think much of it. He was dead tired. When he returned to the dormitory, he didn't plan to gossip with Jia Musen. Instead, he continued to cover his head and sleep. The next morning, Xiao Chen and Jia Musen called Xing Menjing and came to the classroom. Today was the day the freshmen's military training would begin, so they had to wake up early to report. As soon as they stepped into the classroom, they discovered that there were 2 more students in the class. They looked at each other with puzzled expressions. However, the one who was most surprised was still Xiao Chen. This was because he recognized at a glance that the 2 extra people were actually the Chick Xing and Ling Qinxue. Why did they come to Lawn City University? Moreover, they also registered for the ancient martial arts major. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Could it be that his whereabouts were exposed? That new student looks quite familiar. I seem to have seen him somewhere before. Jia Muzhen suddenly muttered to himself. Then, he carefully sized up the chick Xing for a while and frowned as he tried to recall. Xiao Chen was stunned. What kind of situation was this? Could it be that Jia Muzhen was mistaken? How could he possibly know the chick Xing? Just as Xiao Chen was about to open his mouth to ask, Professor Zhong rushed in and said loudly, "Students, the first-year military training officially begins today. In 10 minutes, please go to the field to collect your uniforms and cloth shoes and report to the instructor." Xiao Chen hurriedly sat down with Jia Muzhen and Qing Menjing. Professor Zhong looked at the name list in his hand, then raised his head to look at the chick Xing and Ling Qinxue. He said, "Today, there are 2 new students. They are Xing Gongzi and Ling Qinxue, right? You two, introduce yourselves." "Hello everyone, I am Xing Gongzi." The chick Xing stood up and briefly introduced herself. Then, she sat down expressionlessly. The temperature in the entire classroom dropped by several degrees. The chick Xing did not deliberately disguise herself this time, but she still appeared in men's clothing. The reason why she was able to enter this major was because she found the person who had actually taken the ancient martial arts major but had yet to report. Then, she gave him 1,000,000 yuan. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.